Stop whatever you are doing. Be still for a moment and listen, because what I am about to say may shift the entire course of your life. You have prayed before. You have whispered words into the night, perhaps through tears, perhaps through clenched fists, perhaps through silent hope that someone, somewhere would hear you. But I must tell you the truth. Most prayers never rise higher than the lips that spoke them. Why? Because they were not spoken in the way that touches heaven. They were prayers of fear, prayers of desperation, prayers asking the infinite to please change its mind. And the infinite does not need to change its mind, my dear. It only needs you to change your way of prayer. For the law of attraction, for the law of metaphysics, answers not to begging but to certainty, not to fear but to faith. Everything will be given to you, but only if you pray in this way. And when I say everything, I mean health where there was disease, money where there was lack, love where there was loneliness, joy where there was despair. Nothing is too small for spirit, and nothing is too great for spirit. The only limitation is the manner in which you pray. I once said, and I will say again, the game of life is a game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us swiftly with astounding accuracy. And prayer is nothing more than thought and word released into the universe. If you pray in doubt, doubt returns. If you pray in fear, fear returns. But if you pray in certainty, if you declare with the voice of one who knows it is already theirs, then the universe bows to your command. Picture a child asking its father for bread. Does the child fall on its knees and cry out, "Oh, please, Father, do not let me starve. Please, if it is your will, give me a crust of bread"? No, the child simply reaches its hand, confident that bread belongs to it by natural right. That is how you must pray. You must stretch out your hand in faith, without trembling, and claim what already belongs to you by divine right. When you pray in this way, the heavens shift, invisible messengers move in your favor, doors you did not even know existed begin to open. The prayer that is firm, direct, confident, and filled with thanksgiving is the prayer that sets angels in motion. But the prayer of whining, of doubt, of endless repetition, as if God has not heard you, that is like knocking on a door that is already unlocked but refusing to push it open. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a farmer standing in his field. He holds seeds in his hand. He wishes for a harvest. He begs the soil, "Please, soil, if it is your will, please let me have a crop this year." He cries, he pleads, he fasts, he worries. But he never places the seed in the ground. What harvest will he see? None, because prayer is planting. The soil responds not to begging, but to planting. And when you pray in the way I teach, you are planting seeds in the rich soil of spirit, and you can be certain that the harvest must come. You see, prayer is not asking, it is receiving. Prayer is not pleading, it is declaring. Prayer is not about convincing God, it is about convincing yourself. God has already said yes. The universe has already stamped every desire of your heart with approval. But you must align yourself to receive, and the way you align is by praying as if it is already done. Say these words aloud, even now. I already have it. It is mine by divine right. It comes to me in perfect timing, under grace, in perfect ways. Do you feel the shift inside you as you say it? That is the difference between ordinary prayer and magnetic prayer. Ordinary prayer leaves you in doubt. Magnetic prayer leaves you in possession. I once had a student who prayed for supply, but she did so with trembling lips and worried eyes. She said, "Oh, Miss Shinn, I ask God every day to provide for me, but nothing comes. I told her, stop asking, start declaring. Say, I have received supply by divine right. It is already mine, and it comes to me now. She looked startled but obeyed. Within the week, an unexpected opportunity arrived, and her need was met abundantly. What changed? Not God. Not the universe. She changed. She prayed in the right way. So I ask you now, how are you praying? Are you begging as though the universe is reluctant? Or are you declaring as though the universe is abundant? Are you planting seeds of faith, or are you scattering tears of fear? The way you pray is the blueprint for what you will receive. Do not think that prayer is only for sacred places, only for Sundays, only for whispered rituals. Every word you speak is a prayer. When you say, I can't afford this, you are praying lack into your life. When you say, I never have good luck, you are praying misfortune into your life. But when you say, I am rich in supply, you are praying wealth. When you say, I attract love everywhere I go, you are praying joy. Every word is a seed. Speak carefully, because Spirit does not forget what you plant. Prayer must be firm. Prayer must be joyful. Prayer must be accompanied by thanksgiving, as if it is already done. When you give thanks for something unseen, you send out a signal to the universe that you believe, and belief is the magnet of miracles. The man who prays for healing, but continues to speak of pain, is like a builder who lays bricks by day, but tears them down by night. His house will never be built. But the man who prays once in faith and then continues to speak words of gratitude, his house will be standing before the week is out. So I say again, everything will be given to you if you pray in this way, not in fear, not in begging, but in certainty, in joy, in thanksgiving, in alignment with the truth that Spirit is limitless, and therefore you are limitless. You must understand this truth, beloved. The reason most people say, my prayers are never answered, is not because God refuses them, not because heaven is deaf, not because the universe is cold. Their prayers fail because they are not really prayers at all. They are vibrations of fear wrapped in religious words. They are cries of desperation spoken into the wind, and the universe, which always obeys law, answers not to fear but to faith, not to begging but to believing. Consider the woman who kneels each night and whispers, Lord, please help me, please help me, please help me. Her words are soaked with doubt. She repeats them because she does not believe they were heard the first time. She imagines God as far away, sitting on a throne, frowning, needing to be convinced. But the truth is, God is closer than her own breath. Spirit is nearer than her own heartbeat. And so while she prays, she is really declaring over and over again, I do not have, I do not believe, I am not certain. The universe hears that frequency and delivers exactly what she announced: emptiness. Do you see? The failure lies not in God, but in the way the prayer is spoken. An ordinary prayer is like knocking on a door, but never stepping inside. It is like standing before a banquet table, yet declaring, I am starving, I am starving. Ordinary prayer speaks more of lack than of abundance, more of doubt than of certainty, more of fear than of faith. And because the law of attraction returns to us the very vibration we release, ordinary prayer often brings more of the very problem we wanted solved. I have often said, owing to ignorance of the law, Many people are continually making their lives chaotic by their words. Do you see how this applies to prayer? A person will say, I am praying for healing, yet in the same breath declare, my condition is getting worse. Another will say, I pray for money every day, but then confess, I am always broke. What are they truly praying? They are praying sickness, they are praying poverty, they are praying fear. And the universe, faithful servant that it is, delivers to them exactly what they spoke. Imagine a gardener who plants both roses and weeds in the same soil, watering both daily. What will grow both? The soil does not discriminate, and spirit is the same. It grows whatever seed you plant in the soil of the universe, whether it be faith or fear, love or doubt, gratitude or complaint. Ordinary prayer fails because it plants weeds while expecting roses. Let me tell you a story. A gentleman once came to me distressed over his business. He said, Miss Shinn, I pray every morning for my company to succeed, but each day I lose more money. I asked him, what do you say after you pray? He replied, I tell my wife we are ruined. I tell my friends I expect bankruptcy. I tell myself that nothing works. I smiled gently and said, then you are not praying, you are rehearsing failure. You are broadcasting ruin, and the universe is simply echoing it back. When he understood this, he changed his words. Instead of praying for success and then declaring disaster, he prayed once in certainty, then began speaking only of abundance, prosperity, and gratitude. Within months, his failing business revived, and new opportunities came to him. What changed? Not the market. Not luck, his prayer changed from ordinary to extraordinary. Ordinary prayer fails because it comes from the belief that God is unwilling. Extraordinary prayer succeeds because it comes from the belief that God has already given. Do you see the difference? When you beg, you announce lack. When you declare, you announce possession, and the universe always confirms the announcement. Think of a radio. If you tune it to the wrong frequency, you will not hear the music you desire. You may turn the knob harder, shout at the radio, pound your fist on it, but it will not matter. You are still on the wrong station. Prayer works the same. Ordinary prayer is tuned to the frequency of lack. No matter how long you pray, no matter how loud you cry, you will not hear the song of abundance because you are on the wrong frequency. But extraordinary prayer, prayer spoken with certainty, with joy, with thanksgiving, is tuned to the frequency of answered prayer. And the moment you align, the music of heaven begins to play in your life. Do not think that long prayers move heaven. Do not think that repeating yourself makes you more holy. Spirit is not impressed by the quantity of your words, but by the quality of your faith. One sentence spoken in certainty is more powerful than 1,000 words spoken in fear. One declaration filled with thanksgiving shakes the universe more than hours of begging. So I ask you now, beloved, what kind of prayer do you speak? Do you whine? Do you plead? Do you repeat endlessly, hoping to be heard? Or do you stand tall, declare boldly, and give thanks as if it is already yours? The former is ordinary and fails. The latter is extraordinary and always succeeds. I once taught my students, the prayer of affirmation brings about the demonstration. The prayer of fear only delays it. And so if your prayers seem unanswered, check the soil. What seed are you planting? Is it faith or is it fear? The universe is never late, never deaf, never unwilling. It is always giving according to the law of your word. Ordinary prayer fails because it forgets this law, but you, now that you know, must never forget. When you pray, do not beg, do not repeat, do not declare lack. Instead, speak once, firmly, joyfully, thankfully, as one who already possesses. And then live in alignment with that prayer, speaking words that confirm it, thinking thoughts that support it, taking actions that agree with it. For when you do, the universe has no choice but to deliver. It is law, and law cannot fail. Now, let me tell you, dear one, what prayer truly is, and how it must be spoken for heaven and earth to move. The right way to pray is not to cry, nor to plead, nor to bargain with God, as though he were a stern judge to be persuaded. The right way to pray is to affirm, to declare, to give thanks, to speak as one who already possesses. For when you pray in this way, you become magnetic. The vibration of your words draws the unseen into the seen, the invisible into form, the promise into manifestation. You must understand that prayer is not asking, it is aligning. Prayer is not trying to change God's mind, it is changing your own vibration. Prayer is not an attempt to overcome divine reluctance, it is laying hold of divine willingness. God has already given all. The universe is already overflowing with supply. The rivers of blessing are always flowing, yet most people close their cup, turn their back, and say, "Why is there no water for me?" But when you pray rightly, you turn toward the stream, you open your vessel, you drink deeply, and your thirst is quenched. I say to you, never go to prayer as a beggar, go as a child of the King. Never bow your head in shame before the Almighty, for you were made in His image. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and speak as one who knows they are heir to the kingdom. When the prodigal son returned, the father did not lecture him. He clothed him with a robe, placed a ring on his hand, shoes on his feet, and called for the feast. This is how your Father in heaven sees you. So why should you come groveling? Why should you pray as though God must be convinced? He has already given. You need only receive. Let me show you how magnetic prayer works. Suppose you are in need of money. An ordinary prayer will say, "Lord, please send me money. Please don't let me fail. Please help me." But a magnetic prayer will declare, "I thank thee, Father, that money flows to me now. I thank thee that thy riches are mine in abundance. I walk in supply. I live in plenty. I move in prosperity." Do you feel the difference? One begs, the other claims. One says, "I do not have." The other says, "It is already mine." And because the universe is tuned to respond to certainty, the second prayer calls forth what the first one chases away. Another example, a woman prays for health. She cries, "Lord, take away my sickness, please heal me." This is ordinary prayer. But a magnetic prayer would say, "I am whole in Christ. I thank thee that every cell of my body vibrates with divine life. I am filled with health, strength, and energy now." You see the difference. The ordinary prayer looks at the sickness. The magnetic prayer looks at the wholeness. And where you place your gaze, energy flows. What you give attention to expands. Prayer is not about describing the problem. It is about declaring the solution. The right way to pray is always with thanksgiving. I have said it often. Gratitude is the law of increase. When you thank God for what is already yours, you activate the law of multiplication. When Jesus took the loaves and fishes, he did not cry, "Oh God, please, we have too little." He lifted them to heaven and gave thanks. And at once what was little became much. What was scarce became abundant. Do you see the key? Thanksgiving unlocks multiplication. So if you wish your prayer to be magnetic, begin always with gratitude. Thank God as though it were already done. Let us use a metaphor. Imagine a magnet placed in a field of iron filings. Wherever the magnet goes, the filings rush toward it. They cling to it. They cannot resist its pull. This is how prayer works when it is spoken rightly. The moment you declare, the moment you thank, the moment you believe, your word becomes magnetic. Opportunities, people, resources, ideas, all rush toward you. You may not see them immediately, but they are moving. They are gathering, they are aligning, and soon what you spoke becomes what you touch. Prayer is not about length, but about power. Do not think you must pray for hours. One clear word of faith has more force than 1,000 anxious repetitions. I once told a student who feared losing her home, "Speak this only. There is no loss in divine mind, therefore I cannot lose that which is mine by right." She obeyed, and her affairs were adjusted without delay. Why? Because she spoke law. She did not beg, she declared. She did not fear, she affirmed, and the law responded. Do you not see? The right way to pray is to speak the end from beginning. Call the thing done. See yourself already possessing. Walk as though you already hold it in your hand. This is why Jesus said, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. He did not say, when you pray, hope that one day it will come. He said, believe that you receive now, and you shall have. Present tense faith creates present tense manifestations. I tell you, never mention the problem in your prayer. Speak only the solution. If you need peace, do not cry, I am troubled. Declare, the peace of God floods my mind. If you need supply, do not whine, I am broke. Declare, riches are mine now. If you need love, do not moan, I am lonely. Declare, divine love surrounds me, guides me, and attracts love to me now. The law is exact. Words you choose are seeds. Plant weeds, you reap weeds. Plant roses, you reap roses. So remember, beloved, the right way to pray is magnetic. It is thanksgiving. It is certainty. It is declaring what already is in spirit until it appears in form. It is never begging, never repeating in fear, never describing the problem. It is lifting your word to heaven, clothed in faith, and knowing it is done. When you pray like this, miracles cease to be rare. They become natural, daily, expected, and your life becomes a living testimony that prayer works when spoken rightly. I will now give you the formula, the divine pattern, the sacred rhythm of prayer and manifestation. It is simple, yet most stumble because they complicate it, they resist it, or they add to it their fears and doubts. The law of the Spirit is not hard. It is not hidden in riddles. It is as clear as the sun that rises, as dependable as the tide that flows. The formula is threefold: speak, believe, release. First, you must speak. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Your word is the sword of spirit, the brush that paints reality, the seed that plants destiny. Until you speak, the thought remains unformed, the desire remains unshaped. Speech is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When God created, He spoke. He did not wish. He did not imagine vaguely. He said, let there be light, and light appeared. In the same way, you must say, let there be abundance, let there be health, let there be peace. Your word is law. Your word summons the invisible substance of the universe into pattern and form. But not any word will do. You must speak words of life, words of certainty, words of completion. Never say, I will be healed one day, for that delays your healing. Never say, I will have money someday, for that pushes supply into the distance. Say instead, I am whole now, I am supplied now, I am guided now. For the word spoken in the present tense is the word charged with power. Spirit moves only in the eternal now. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not yet come. Now is the appointed time. So speak as though it is already done, because in divine mind it is. Next, you must believe. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Without belief, words are empty shells. Without faith, affirmations are mere sounds. But when belief enters, the word is clothed in life. It vibrates, it magnetizes. It draws unto itself that which corresponds. Belief is the secret engine that sets your spoken word into motion. It is the current that electrifies the magnet, the breath that animates the seed. You cannot deceive the law. It responds not to what you say with your lips, but to what you believe in your heart. If you say, I am rich, but believe secretly, I am poor and nothing ever works for me, then it is the inner belief that wins, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. How then do you cultivate belief? By repetition, by imagination, by thanksgiving. You must soak your mind in truth until it becomes your only thought. If doubt rises, speak the word again. If fear whispers, drown it out with praise. Belief grows like a muscle. It strengthens with use. I once knew a man who repeated daily, God is my instant supply. At first, he said it with trembling lips, for his pockets were empty. But day by day, as he persisted, belief took root, and soon opportunities rushed in. A position opened that fit him perfectly, and his affairs flourished. Why? Because he combined word with belief. Then comes the third step, release. After you have spoken and believed, you must let go. You must place the matter into the hands of the divine and cease from anxious striving. Too many speak the word, then snatch it back with worry. They pray for health, then run to tell everyone how sick they feel. They declare prosperity, then cancel it with, I can't afford it. This is double-mindedness, and the double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. He cannot receive. Release means you rest. Release means you trust. Release means you no longer watch the clock, demanding when and how. You sow the seed, you water it with thanksgiving, and then you let the soil of spirit do its work. Think of a farmer. He plants his seed and covers it with earth. He does not dig it up every hour to see if it grows. He trusts the unseen forces of nature. He knows that in due time the sprout will break forth, the stalk will rise, the fruit will appear. So too must you release your word. Do not dig it up with doubt, do not choke it with fear. Plant it in faith, water it with gratitude, and let it be. There is a woman I once counseled who longed for her right home. She spoke the word, I give thanks for the perfect home that is mine by divine right. She believed it was possible, but every day she checked the listings, worried about the prices, and said, what if nothing shows up? I told her, release the burden, leave the how to God. At last she obeyed. She stopped searching anxiously and instead gave daily thanks. Within 2 weeks, a friend approached her unexpectedly, offering a house that was exactly what she envisioned, at a price within her means. Why? Because she had spoken, believed, and then released. Remember, dear one, the formula is always the same. Speak, declare it boldly. Believe, hold it as true within. Release, let God handle the details. When these 3 steps are practiced together, manifestation is certain. When one is missing, the circuit is broken. To speak without belief is empty. To believe without speaking is dormant. To speak and believe without release is to strangle the harvest with impatience. Only when all three are united does the miracle appear. Let me give you a final picture. Imagine a kite soaring in the sky. To make it fly, you must first release it upward. That is the word spoken. Then you must hold the string with confidence. That is belief. But you must also let the wind carry it. You cannot tug it constantly, or it will fall. That is release. And so it is with the word of prayer. Give it wings, give it faith, give it freedom. Then watch it rise higher and higher until it becomes visible in your reality. Therefore, I say unto you, speak with authority, believe with certainty, release with peace. This is the divine formula. This is how heaven moves on earth, and this is why I tell you. Everything will be given to you if you pray in this way. The final key, the crown of the formula, is to live as though it is already done. Prayer does not end with words upon your lips. It is fulfilled when you embody the result in every step, in every breath, in every decision. To pray rightly is to live in the vibration of answered prayer. The moment you have spoken, believed, and released, you must shift your life to reflect that it is already yours. Most people miss this last step. They pray for prosperity but continue to speak like paupers. They ask for health but continue to act as though sickness has the final word. They long for love but carry themselves with the posture of rejection. They live as though the prayer is still pending, still waiting, still distant. But I tell you, in divine law, the moment you pray in the right way, it is already complete in spirit. The unseen has accepted your order. The supply has been dispatched. To live as if it were not yet done is to doubt the very law you have invoked. You must live as if it has already come to pass. If you have prayed for abundance, walk through the world with the dignity of one already provided for. Hold your head high, not in arrogance, but in assurance. If you have prayed for health, let your body move as one who is already being restored. If you have prayed for right work, prepare yourself as though the opportunity is already knocking at your door. The law answers faith, not hesitation. Let me give you an image. Imagine a bride who has set the date for her wedding. She does not wait until the morning of the ceremony to prepare. No, from the moment the promise is spoken, she begins to act. She selects her garments, she sends out invitations, she rehearses her steps. All of her being moves toward that appointed day because she knows it is settled. In the same way, once you have prayed, your soul must prepare as though the blessing is inevitable, for indeed it is. I once counseled a man who prayed for his right position in business. He spoke the word with conviction and released it in trust, yet he still lived as though nothing had changed. He stayed idle, refused to prepare, and entertained thoughts of failure. I told him, begin to live as though you already have it. Rise each day as though you are going to work. Prepare your mind as though you are already entrusted with responsibility. Dress the part. Think the part, embody the part. Within weeks, an opportunity opened that perfectly matched his preparation, and because he had lived as if it were so, he was ready to receive it. Do you see, to live as if is not play acting. It is aligning. It is entering the vibration of the completed work so that when it appears in the visible, you are not a stranger to it. You cannot carry the vibration of lack and expect to receive abundance. You cannot carry the vibration of fear and expect to walk into love. You cannot carry the vibration of doubt and expect to see miracles. You must match the frequency of what you desire. Living as if is the alignment of your whole being with the outcome already decreed. Think of a radio. The music is already playing in the air, but you hear nothing until you tune your receiver to the right station. Living as if is tuning your life to the frequency of answered prayer. When you adjust your words, your posture, your choices, your gratitude, you come into harmony with the unseen, and soon the music of your manifestation begins to play. Gratitude is the highest form of living as if. When you give thanks before the visible appears, you are declaring to the universe, "It is already mine." Jesus himself gave thanks before the bread multiplied, before Lazarus rose, before the miracle was seen. Thanksgiving is the sound of faith fulfilled. Begin now to thank God for the thing you prayed for, as though it has already come. Say, "I give thanks for the wealth that flows to me now. I give thanks for the health that springs forth speedily. I give thanks for the love that surrounds me. I give thanks for the doors that open." Thanksgiving is the fragrance of manifestation. It proves you believe it is already done. Let me tell you of a woman who longed for companionship. She prayed daily for her right mate. I told her, "Begin to live as though he were already present." She set an extra place at the table. She kept her home in order as though expecting company. She walked with the joy of one who was already loved. And before long, the right man entered her life, drawn not by her desperation, but by her vibration of fulfillment. This is how the law works. When you live as if you magnetize, you cease to beg and begin to attract. You cease to plead and begin to command. You cease to wander and begin to align. Heaven rushes to meet the soul that walks as though the promise is already in hand. Now some will say, "But what if I am pretending? What if I am deluding myself?" My answer is this: you are not pretending, you are practicing. You are not deluding, you are aligning. Pretending says, "This is not real, but I will play a part." Aligning says, "This is already real in spirit, and I am adjusting myself to its reality." The difference is everything. Pretending is empty, but alignment is powerful. So I say to you, dress your life in answered prayer. Walk as though you have received. Speak gratitude as though it is already in your hands. Live in joy as though the gift has already arrived. For in divine law, it has. The invisible always precedes the visible. The spiritual always comes before the material. If you wait to believe until you see, you will never see. But if you believe and live now, then surely, in due season, it will appear. Picture yourself holding a lantern in the dark. Each step you take, the light reveals a little more of the path ahead. You do not see the whole road, but you walk as though it is there, because the light assures you that the next step will be revealed. So it is with living as if. Each step taken in faith brings the manifestation closer until one day, what you lived inwardly becomes the reality you touch with your hands. Therefore, I charge you this day, pray rightly, and then live rightly. Do not delay the blessing with double-mindedness. Align your heart, your words, your choices, your gratitude, with the truth that the prayer is already answered. For it is written, "When ye pray, believe that ye receive, and ye shall have." The moment you believe you receive, you must act, speak, and live as though it is done. This is the completion of prayer. This is the secret of manifestation. This is the law of living as if. And when you live this way, everything will indeed be given to you, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, because Spirit knows no delay. All of heaven bends to the soul that lives in alignment with its answered prayer. Walk in it, dear one, and watch the invisible become visible, the hoped for become seen, the word become flesh. And so, beloved one, as we come to the end of this teaching, let me leave you with this eternal truth. Nothing is withheld from the soul that knows how to pray rightly. You were not placed upon this earth to beg, to struggle, or to wander in confusion. You were placed here to co-create with divine spirit, to speak the word of faith, and to live in the joy of answered prayer. Everything will be given to you if you pray in this way, believing, releasing, trusting, and living as though it is already done. The world will tell you that things take time, that blessings are scarce, that your dreams are too bold. But the law of spirit knows nothing of delay, nothing of shortage, nothing of impossibility. In the realm of spirit, the moment you believe, it is done. The moment you align, it is given. The moment you speak with faith, heaven opens its gates to pour out supply. So walk in this truth. Let your prayers no longer be cries of desperation, but declarations of divine order. Let your words no longer be filled with fear, but with confidence that all things are working together for your good. And when doubt tries to whisper that nothing is happening, silence it with thanksgiving. Say, "It is done. I give thanks. I walk in the blessing now." For thanksgiving is the song of answered prayer. Look back upon your life for a moment. Think of the times when you thought the answer was delayed, but in truth it arrived at the perfect hour. Think of the doors that closed only to guide you to better ones. Think of the prayers you prayed that did not manifest as you expected, but turned into blessings greater than you imagined. Divine order has always been at work, arranging, aligning, preparing, and it will not fail you now. The universe is not against you. It is for you. God is not withholding. He is overflowing. The only thing required is that you align yourself with His law, and His law is simple. Believe that you receive, and you shall have. Do not complicate it. Do not resist it. Simply step into it with childlike faith. So tonight, as you pray, pray differently. Pray with assurance, pray with release, pray with joy. Speak the word, let it go, and live as though it is already so. Watch the invisible take shape. Watch the doors swing open. Watch the crooked places made straight. Watch provision, health, love, and peace rush into your life, not by your forcing, but by your faith. You are not small, you are not forgotten, you are not powerless. You are the beloved of spirit, heir to infinite supply, and the law of divine manifestation is written within your very soul. Rise into it, claim it, live it, and let your life be the proof of prayer's power. I tell you, dear one, nothing is missing. Nothing is late. Nothing is beyond reach. Everything you have prayed for in the right way is already yours in the unseen. Now step into it with joy. The universe is waiting for your alignment, for your thanksgiving, for your faith. And as you do, you will see with your own eyes what I have spoken. Everything will indeed be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Walk in faith, speak in truth, live in joy, and let every prayer you make be the opening of heaven's storehouse. So it is, and so it shall be. There is a mighty power in the words we speak. Words are not merely sounds. They are the creative tools of spirit, shaping our world moment by moment. The subconscious mind receives every word as a command, and the universe, forever obedient, begins to arrange circumstances accordingly. When we speak deliberately, with divine intention, we harness the law of attraction, the law of prosperity, and the law of love, setting them all in motion on our behalf. When you say something every hour, when you affirm a truth persistently, you impress the subconscious mind with unwavering certainty. Spoken law, the repetition builds faith. Faith is not something far off or elusive. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When faith and word align, miracles follow. What you declare with conviction becomes your reality. Most people speak carelessly. They say things like, "I through spoken law, I can't afford that. Things never work out for me. I'm always tired." Or, "This always happens to me." And so the law, spoken law, impartial and exact, says, "So be it." The outer world simply reflects the inner conversation. But when you wake up to your power, but through spoken law, when you realize your word is your wand, you begin to speak with purpose, knowing that every word plants a seed in the garden of your experience. But through spoken law, to say something every hour is to discipline your thought and speech. It is to reprogram the inner patterns that have perhaps run wild for years. It is to declaring, "I am in control of my life. I align with divine order. I speak only that which I desire to see. If you want health, say it every hour. Divine health flows through me now. If you desire abundance, declare, God is my instant, constant, and lavish supply. If peace is your aim, affirm, I dwell in the secret place of the Most High, through spoken law, and no harm shall come near me." It is not enough to say these words once in the morning and forget them. The world is full of distractions, and the old thought forms are strong. But when you speak truth every hour, you renew the mind. You create a new rhythm in consciousness. You drown out the noise of doubt and fear. You rise into alignment with the infinite. Say it aloud, whisper it, write it, feel it. Let the words become the breath of your spirit. And as you do, watch your life transform. Watch doors open. Watch the crooked places made straight. Watch as people, resources, and opportunities are magnetized to you, drawn not by effort, but by the vibration of truth sustained. But through spoken law, you need not beg or plead. You need only speak, believe, and receive. The infinite intelligence knows your name. It knows what you need before you ask. But it waits for your permission, your word, your vibration of readiness. And when you speak in harmony with divine law, hour after hour, day after day, but through spoken law, you become a living example of heaven on earth. Your word is your creative power. Every syllable you speak carries with it the force of vibration, intention, and spiritual authority. When you speak, but through spoken law, you are not simply passing time or expressing thoughts. You are casting the substance of your world into form. The invisible realm responds not to logic or effort, but to the quality and certainty of your spoken word. But through spoken law, words are the bridge between the inner and outer worlds. They are the mechanism by which ideas move from the abstract into the material. But through spoken law, the ancient law is simple: what you declare becomes law in your life. Your word sets forth energy in motion through spoken law, and that energy obeys the spiritual laws that govern all creation. You may have noticed that things people say repeatedly tend to come to pass through spoken law. This is not coincidence. The subconscious mind, which shapes much of our reality behind the scenes, is highly impressionable. It does not differentiate between jokes, sarcasm, or idle talk. It hears and accepts what is spoken most often, especially when said with emotion, and sets out to manifest accordingly. If someone constantly says, "I never get a break," the subconscious mind takes that as a command and sees to it that opportunities continue to slip away. If a person says, spoken law, "I always attract the right people at the right time," their experience begins to reflect that belief. The spoken word is like a seed, but through spoken law, and each seed contains the kern of the full-grown plant. Just as an acorn already holds the blueprint of the oak tree, your words hold the blueprint of your experience. Once spoken, that seed is planted in the soil of the subconscious. It will take root, sprout, and grow, unless it is uprooted by contrary words or beliefs. This is why casual speech is so dangerous for the unaware and so powerful for the awakened. But through spoken law,
When you become conscious of the creative power of your word, you no longer say things you do not mean. You stop using phrases like, "This is killing me," or "I'm sick and tired," or "Nothing ever works out." You begin to realize that every word spoken in frustration or fear carries a vibratory weight and becomes a silent decree. And the law never sleeps. It is always recording, always acting. The word is not only a tool, it is a force of nature. Just as gravity governs physical form, the law of the spoken word governs spiritual form. It is written, "In the beginning was the Word," and this is not merely poetic. It is literal. All creation began with the utterance of divine intention. When you speak, you echo that same power. You are not separate from the source. You are an extension of it, endowed with the same ability to call forth that which is unseen into the realm of the seen. To say, "I am," followed by a declaration, through spoken law, is to invoke divine energy. The words "I am" are sacred because they are the name of the infinite expressed through the individual, through spoken law. When you say, "I am strong, I am whole, I am free," you are not hoping, you are claiming, but through spoken law, you are stamping a vibration upon your consciousness that will shape the next hour, the next day, the next season. It is not enough to think good thoughts alone. Thought is the blueprint, but word is the command. The universe may recognize your intention through spoken law, but it responds with precision to your verbal affirmation. Many people struggle in silence, wondering why their prayers go unanswered through spoken law, yet they undo their own intentions by speaking against them. They ask for prosperity but then speak of lack. They affirm healing but constantly talk about symptoms. They say, "I want love," and then declare, "Spoken law, people always let me down." These contradictions send mixed messages to the subconscious, which then mirrors back chaos and confusion. Through spoken law, there must be clarity in the spoken word. It must align with the desire, and it must be consistent. To understand your word as creative power is to take full responsibility for your life. It means no longer blaming outer conditions for inner experience, but through spoken law, you begin to see that your circumstances are the result of accumulated speech. Yours and sometimes the words of others you've accepted as truth. But the moment you decide to speak differently, everything begins to shift. Power returns to you. Spoken law, you no longer feel like a victim of fate or random events. You recognize that your word is a magic wand, but through spoken law. And whatever you point it toward will begin to move, rearrange, and take form. This is not about positive thinking for its own sake. Through spoken law, it is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about understanding that the power of word is greater than appearance. But through spoken law, you may be surrounded by lack, but when you declare, "There is divine abundance all around me," you are planting new seeds. Those seeds, spoken law, when nourished with belief and repetition, will push through the hard ground of past thought and begin to yield fruit. You speak what you wish to grow, not what you see fading. You do not speak about the illness, the debt, or the betrayal. You speak the truth behind the illusion. You say, "I am guided, I am supported, I am provided for," and the universe hears. Faith-filled speech overrides fear-based conditions. When you speak with authority and conviction, mountains move. Not because you are powerful in ego, through spoken law, but because you are aligning with divine laws that govern creation. Through spoken law, there is no condition too fixed that it cannot be shifted by the spoken word of truth. There is no habit too ingrained that it cannot be reversed by the consistent declaration of spiritual reality. What you speak, you shape. What you affirm, through spoken law, you form. And so you learn to guard your tongue, not with fear, but with reverence. You watch your words the way a gardener watches for weeds. You do not allow complaints, gossip, or judgment to pass your lips, but through spoken law, because you know these things do not just affect others. They shape your own atmosphere. Through spoken law, you understand that your environment is a reflection of the vibration you have sustained with your words, and so you speak light. You speak peace, but through spoken law, you speak blessing even when the outer world seems dark. Because you know the word is not dependent on conditions. It changes them, but through spoken law. When you understand the creative power of your word, you no longer wait for things to change before you speak differently. You speak differently first. In spoken law, you declare what in spirit, even when it seems false in form. You do not wait for the feeling to come. You speak until it does. You do not wait for the evidence. You call it in with your word. The word goes before you. It prepares the path. It clears the way, but through spoken law. It magnetizes the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences to match the frequency you have chosen. But through spoken law, your life is a mirror of your words. If you want to know what you've been affirming, look around. If you don't like what you see, begin to speak something new. There is no shame in having spoken without awareness. But now you know. Now you see that the word is not small. It is not idle. It is the instrument by which you conduct the music of your life. Repetition builds faith and reprograms the subconscious. The subconscious mind is the hidden builder of your life. It does not argue, reason, or analyze. It simply accepts what it is told, especially what it is told over and over again. Repetition is the language the subconscious understands. One powerful statement, said once, may pass unnoticed. But when it is said 100 times with sincerity, it begins to penetrate. It becomes a command, not a suggestion. Faith is not always instant. It grows, and repetition is how it is cultivated, just as water wears down stone. Persistent affirmation breaks through layers of old belief. Many people think faith is an emotion or a gift granted to the few. But faith is truly the result of deep inner conviction, built word by word, thought by thought, hour by hour, but through spoken law. Repetition is the chisel that carves belief into the heart of your being. In the realm of spirit, belief is the currency of manifestation. But through spoken law, what do you believe you experience? But belief is not formed by accident. It is formed through the constant repetition of thought and word. If you grew up hearing, money is hard to come by, that idea may have rooted deeply in your subconscious. But that belief can be replaced. It is not permanent. When you begin to say, money flows to me freely and abundantly, it may feel strange at first, but with repetition, the strangeness fades. With enough repetition, it begins to feel natural. And when it feels natural, it becomes real. This is why affirmations are not to be spoken once and forgotten. They are to be spoken again and again, not as a ritual, but as a reprogramming. The mind must be trained. Just as a musician repeats scales or an athlete practices form, the spiritual aspirant repeats truth. Not because it is not already true, but because it must become true in consciousness. The truth must be accepted in the subconscious before it can express in the outer world. The old patterns of doubt, fear, and limitation were built through years of repetition. Every time you said, through spoken law, I can't, I'm afraid, or that's not for me, you deepened the groove. The subconscious took that as law. It acted accordingly through spoken law, shaping your reality to reflect what it was constantly told. The only way to break these grooves is through new, repeated declarations. You must speak the opposite of what was once spoken, consistently, confidently, and with feeling. It is not enough to think once in a while, I want to be free, and then revert back to fear. The mind must be saturated with freedom, but through spoken law. The words of truth must be so frequent that they begin to drown out the voice of lack and resistance. This is why many spiritual teachers advise saying affirmations every hour, every morning, every night. Not because the power lies in the number, but because the frequency builds belief. And belief is what moves the invisible forces. You may not believe the affirmation at first. That is not a problem. Belief is not a requirement to begin. Repetition itself is what brings the belief. The mind hears the phrase again and again and begins to say, if I hear this so often, it must be true. The subconscious is impressionable. It is like fertile soil. Whatever is planted repeatedly will grow. If you sow the seed of love, it will grow. If you sow fear, it will grow. But through spoken law, you choose the seed by choosing your repeated thought and speech. There is immense spiritual discipline in repeating truth. It requires patience, but through spoken law, persistence and faith in the unseen, the world may look the same at first. Your conditions may not change overnight, but through spoken law. But every word spoken in faith builds a new structure. It clears the weeds of doubt and makes way for new growth. But through spoken law, your outer world shifts in direct proportion to the consistency of your inner repetition. Most people are repeating something all day, but without awareness. They repeat complaints, doubts, criticisms, and fears. They say the same worry over and over, and then they wonder why nothing changes. But through spoken law, what they don't realize is that they are doing affirmations all the time. They're just affirming the wrong things. Repetition is always working, but through spoken law, the question is, what are you repeating? What are you programming into your mind and spirit every single day? To use repetition consciously is to take back your power. It is to saying, I no longer let random thoughts shape my life. I speak on purpose. I think on purpose. I declare truth on purpose. I speak love, not fear. I speak abundance, not lack. I speak joy, not sorrow. I do it over and over, through spoken law, until the old thought loses its grip and the new thought becomes dominant. Repetition builds a new inner environment. The mind becomes like a garden with fresh soil. Where once there were only thorns of negativity, now flowers of truth begin to bloom. You notice that you respond differently to life. You speak more gently. You feel more peace through spoken law, not because something changed outside, but because the repeated word of truth changed something within. This is not about blind optimism or ignoring difficulty. It is about choosing the vibration you wish to hold, regardless of appearance. When fear arises, you repeat, I have. When doubt comes, you say, all is working together for my highest good. When lack appears, you declare, there is no limit in divine mind. These phrases, repeated with sincerity, become your spiritual armor. They remind you of who you are. They anchor you in the truth. The mind resists at first. It will say, this isn't working. But the repetition is stronger than resistance. Through spoken law, the word of truth, spoken consistently, is like light in a dark room. You do not need to remove the darkness. You simply turn on the light, again and again, until darkness fades on its own. Each repetition is a flicker of that light. Eventually, the room is filled, but through spoken law. This is why the practice must be daily. The momentum of old thought is strong, but not stronger than your spirit. Repetition allows you to build spiritual momentum. The more you repeat truth, the more natural it feels. The more natural it feels, the more real it becomes. The more real it becomes, the more it shows up in your life. Faith is a muscle, spoken law, and repetition is the exercise that strengthens it. You do not wait to feel strong. You speak strength into being. You do not wait for the proof. You repeat the truth until proof appears. This is the work of spiritual mastery. It is not dramatic or flashy. It is quiet, steady, and powerful. One phrase spoken with intention, repeated daily, has the power to rebuild a life. This is the gift of repetition. It is the path by which the subconscious is purified. It is the practice by which belief is built. It is the way the soul remembers its divine origin. But through spoken law, you do repetition, you do not become someone new. You return to who you really are. You were always whole. You were always worthy. But through spoken law, you were always connected to the infinite. Repetition simply removes what forgot that truth. Speak only what you desire to manifest. But through spoken law, every word carries a seed of creation, and the words you speak today shape the experiences of tomorrow. Most people speak habitually, but through spoken law, not realizing that their speech is a form of command, a direction given to the creative forces of the universe. Words are never idle, but through spoken law, they are instruments of power, living vibrations that imprint themselves upon the subconscious mind and ripple out into the unseen to bring back form. Through spoken law, to speak only what you desire is to live consciously. It is to take full authority over the creative process of your life. When you speak of peace, peace begins to grow. When you speak of abundance, the channels for prosperity begin to open. When you speak of love, but through spoken law, harmony begins to flow into your relationships. But the opposite is also true. When you speak of fear, lack, struggle, and sickness, even in passing, you give life to those conditions. The law is exact and impartial. It does not judge whether your words are spoken in jest, sarcasm, frustration, or carelessness. It only knows to obey. But through spoken law, every word is a mold into which the universal substance flows. Think of your word as the blueprint and the universe as the builder. Through spoken law, if the blueprint is chaotic, filled with statements of limitation and defeat, the resulting structure will reflect that. But through spoken law, but if the blueprint is intentional, if it speaks clearly of joy, freedom, vitality, and wealth, then the outer experience will take that form. But through spoken law, it may not happen overnight, but it must happen according to law. The word is law when spoken with authority. You do not have to speak loudly or forcefully. The power is not in volume. It is in vibration. A quiet word spoken with belief has more creative energy than a loud word filled with doubt. What matters is the clarity and consistency of your speech. But through spoken law, if you truly want something, speak as though it is already yours. Say, I am healthy, even if symptoms are present. Say, I am divinely provided for, even if the bank account looks empty. Say, everything is working out for me, even if the path is unclear. But through spoken law, these are not lies. They are spiritual truths spoken into the realm of form. The world teaches people to speak what they see. But the spiritual laws respond when you speak what you want to see. The senses report appearances, but the soul knows the truth behind appearances. When you speak in alignment with your highest desire, you draw that reality closer. Through spoken law, you begin to dissolve the old forms that no longer serve and invite the new into being. This requires discipline, not fear. Spoken law. You are not to monitor every word in anxiety, but to cultivate the habit of conscious speech. When a fearful or negative word slips out, do not panic. Spoken law. Simply replace it. Cancel it with a new declaration. You might say, that is not my truth. I now speak the word of peace. Through spoken law, I now speak the word of supply. I now speak the word of healing. You become the guardian of your own creative process. Spoken law not through punishment but through awareness. Some people say, I'm just being realistic, as they describe limitation and struggle, but through spoken law. But realism in the spiritual sense means aligning with what is real in divine mind, not what is temporarily appearing in form. But through spoken law, it is more realistic to speak of abundance than lack, because abundance is the natural state of the universe. Through spoken law, it is more realistic to speak of health than sickness, because life itself is wholeness-seeking expression. When you speak of what you desire, you affirm the truth that already exists in potential. Words are like seeds, and each word spoken is planted in the soil of the subconscious. The subconscious does not argue. It does not say, but through spoken law, this is good, or this is bad. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it and works night and day to bring it into form. If you say over and over, I'm always late, the subconscious ensures that your circumstances align with lateness. If you say, through spoken law, I never have enough, it will block the flow of supply to prove that statement correct. But if you say, but through spoken law, I have more than enough for all my needs, the subconscious accepts that command and begins shaping your experience to reflect it. This is not wishful thinking. It is spiritual science. The law of correspondence says that the outer reflects the inner. So if the inner is filled with declarations of lack, chaos, or unworthiness, the outer must reflect it. But when the inner is filled with words of power, gratitude, and divine truth, the outer world becomes a mirror of beauty and balance. You must train yourself to speak life, even when surrounded by death, to speak possibility, even when limitation seems to dominate. This is not denial. It is choice. You are not ignoring the facts. You are choosing the higher reality that transcends facts. Facts change. Truth does not. The truth is that you are one with infinite intelligence, and this intelligence responds to the word you speak. Through spoken law, I am statement is a declaration of identity. When you say, I am, whatever follows is a claim. It is a command sent out into the field of potential. Say, I am tired, and the body responds. Say, I am overwhelmed, and the mind shuts down. But say, I am calm, clear. I am powerful, and the body, mind, and spirit begin to align with that truth. Your I am should never be used casually. It is the name of the divine expressed through you. But through spoken law, speaking only what you desire means refusing to lend energy to what you do not wish to expand. If you do not want confusion, do not speak of it. But through spoken law, if you do not want struggle, do not give it your voice. Instead, speak clarity, speak ease, speak breakthrough. Even if your current reality contradicts your words, persist. The current reality is the echo of past words and beliefs. What you speak now determines what comes next. You are not a reporter. You are a creator. Law. You are not here to describe conditions. You are here to transform them. Every time you say something, ask yourself, do I want more of this? If the answer is no, do not speak it. Instead, find the language that matches your vision. Find the words that match your divine inheritance. Through spoken law, find the phrase that speaks to your highest good, and speak it often. There is creative energy in every word. The tone, the intention, the belief behind it, all carry force. Words backed by feeling move swiftly. So speak with love, speak with reverence, speak with trust. Let your speech be a daily practice of manifestation. Let your words bless your path, call forth your desires, and remind you of your power. Through spoken law, let every word be a stepping stone to the reality you choose to live. Early affirmation aligns you with divine order. The universe functions through divine laws, precise, unwavering, and orderly. Everything in creation moves with them: the tides, the seasons, the heartbeat, the breath. There is timing and harmony embedded in every aspect of life. When you speak truth every hour, through spoken law, you are choosing to move in sync with this divine rhythm. You are not interrupting the flow, you are entering it. To affirm something once is to plant a seed. To affirm something hourly is to water it, to give it sunlight, but through spoken law, to keep it alive in consciousness until it becomes reality. Early repetition keeps your awareness on the truth, not the appearance. Through spoken law, it turns your focus away from chaos and toward divine order. This is not about controlling time or micromanaging thought. It is about attuning yourself to the spiritual pattern that is always available but often ignored. Life can be noisy. It can pull attention in 100 directions. Worry, distraction, duty, fear. The mind is quick to wander. One moment you affirm peace, but through spoken law, and the next you are caught in a swirl of anxiety. Early affirmation is the gentle discipline that calls you back, but through spoken law, it is the anchor that prevents you from drifting too far from the truth. Every hour, you return to center. Every hour, you remind yourself of who you are, but through spoken law and what you are creating. The subconscious mind receives your words as instruction. It does not rest. It receives impressions all day long, from what you see, hear, feel, and especially from what you say. The dominant impressions become your beliefs, but through spoken law, and your beliefs become your experience. When you affirm hourly, you build dominance. You ensure that the truth outweighs the lie. That faith outweighs fear. That divine order, rather than disorder, becomes the foundation of your consciousness. To affirm hourly is not superstition, but through spoken law, it is spiritual alignment. Just as a musician tunes an instrument before it can play in harmony, you must tune your inner instrument. Early affirmation is that tuning process. It adjusts your thoughts, your vibration, your focus. Through spoken law, it clears the static and allows divine inspiration to flow. You may choose one affirmation and repeat it every hour through spoken law, or you may allow the words to evolve as your needs shift. The key is not in variety, it is in sincerity. The words must be true to you, must feel alive in your heart, must carry intention. A rote phrase, spoken without awareness, has little effect. But a word of power, spoken from the soul, transforms everything it touches. Affirming hourly is also a declaration of priority. It says to the universe, this truth is important to me. This belief is my compass. This vision is more real to me than what I see with my eyes. You create time for what you value. When you affirm hourly, you are making space for spirit. You are placing spiritual reality at the top of your list, not as an afterthought but as a guiding force. Divine order is not something you must create. It already exists. It is the natural arrangement of things in perfect balance. But when you become entangled in fear, resistance, or ego, you step out of that arrangement. You experience confusion, chaos, and delay. Affirmation realigns you. It opens the channel. It reminds every level of your being, mental, emotional, physical, that harmony is the truth and anything else is a temporary illusion. The affirmation itself is like a gentle hand that turns your head toward the light. Perhaps you were looking down, lost in worry. But every hour, you speak, all is in divine order now, and the energy shifts, your heart opens. Your mind clears, but through spoken law. You are not forcing the outer to change, you are changing your perspective, and in doing so, you change your vibration. And when vibration changes, results change. You might say, but what about emergencies? What about real problems? And the answer is the same. Especially in times of difficulty, through spoken law, affirmation becomes your lifeline. Divine order is not the denial of difficulty. It is the truth that beneath the surface, but through spoken law, everything is being worked out for your highest good. When you affirm divine order, you declare that even this, even now, has purpose. Through spoken law, you shift from panic to trust, from resistance to flow. Hourly affirmation also disrupts the momentum of negative thinking. Most destructive thoughts are not one-time events. They are patterns. A person who feels anxious may replay the same fearful story every 20 minutes. A person who feels stuck may repeat the same statement of defeat several times a day. These inner loops gain energy through repetition, through spoken law, but hourly affirmation breaks that loop. It introduces a higher thought into the cycle. It cuts through the noise. It replaces the mental habit with a spiritual one. This is why timing matters. Affirm once in the morning and forget it, and the world may pull you back into its drama. But affirm every hour, and you create a new rhythm. But through spoken law, you imprint the truth again and again until it becomes the dominant vibration in your field. Your thoughts begin to follow your words through spoken law. Your feelings begin to reflect your beliefs, and your circumstances begin to reflect your alignment. There is no requirement to speak long affirmations. Even one word, said with full attention, has great power. You may say peace, order, grace, or flow. You may whisper it under your breath, write it in a journal, spoken law, or simply think it with intention. Each time you do, you bring the mind into agreement with the soul. You step out of reaction and into creation. Consistency is key. There may be days when you forget or resist. The old self may argue. The voice of fear may return, but through spoken law. But each hour gives you another chance. Each hour is a reset. The past is wiped clean. You begin again. You declare what you know to be true. Not because the world has shown it to you, but because the soul remembers it. Hourly affirmation becomes not just a habit, but a way of being. But through spoken law, it becomes the heartbeat of your spiritual practice. You are not affirming to get something. You are affirming to be something. You are affirming to remain in alignment with the divine idea that already exists in the mind of God. And as you stay aligned, the outer reflects that alignment. People change, circumstances shift, doors open. What once felt distant becomes near. What once felt tangled becomes clear. You may set a timer or use natural breaks in your day to return to your affirmation. Each hour becomes sacred through spoken law. Each hour becomes a meeting with the self. You are not waiting for life to give you permission. You are giving life instruction, but through spoken law, you are becoming the cause, not the effect. You are speaking truth into the structure of time, and time responds. Divine order flows when your inner world is orderly. Affirmation is the way you sweep the mind clean. It is how you organize thought, emotion, and belief so that they serve your highest good. When the inner is aligned, the outer must follow. Hourly repetition builds spiritual muscle. Through spoken law, it creates momentum. It lifts you when your mood otherwise sink. It holds you steady when the storm rages. It becomes your rhythm, your song, your anchor in the truth of who you are. The universe responds to conviction, not effort. In the spiritual realm, what moves mountains is not struggle, but certainty. Not force, but faith. Through spoken law, it is not how hard you push, but how completely you believe. You may try endlessly, work tirelessly, chase goal after goal, but through spoken law. But if the inner conviction is not there, if you do not truly know the outcome is already yours, then all that effort is like shouting into the wind. The universe does not reward exhaustion. It answers vibration. Conviction is the feeling of spiritual certainty, but through spoken law, it is the inner knowing that what you desire is already real in the unseen, simply waiting for the right moment to appear in the scene. Conviction speaks with authority. It does not beg, it does not negotiate, it does not waver. It says, I know, I hope. The one who is convicted does not ask, when will it happen? But declares, it is done. This declaration, but through spoken law, when truly felt, becomes the magnetic force that draws result into physical form. Effort, in the outer sense, belongs to the world of material action. Through spoken law, it has its place. But in the world of spirit, the energy that creates is subtle. It moves through belief, imagination, feeling, and most of all, through spoken certainty. When you speak your word with deep conviction, you are aligning with the creative principle itself. Through spoken law, You are not merely speaking into air. You are impressing the subconscious and calling forth divine law to arrange itself on your behalf. The subconscious does not act on weak commands. It acts on strong impressions. This is why casual, half-hearted affirmations often bear little fruit. If you spoke in law, "I am wealthy," but internally doubt every word, the subconscious receives confusion, not clarity, but through spoken law. But if you speak the same words with inner agreement, with emotional weight and unwavering certainty, the subconscious accepts that as law. It begins to move people, circumstances, and ideas to fulfill the command. Conviction is not loud. It does not need to shout to be heard. It may be quiet, but through spoken law, but it is unshakable. It is the quiet voice says, "I know I am safe," even when appearances suggest danger. It is the silent thought, spoken law, "I am provided for," even when evidence points to lack. That deep inner yes is what the universe responds to, through spoken law. The frequency of certainty cuts fear like light through darkness. Those who walk in spiritual mastery are not always those who work the hardest. They are often the ones who believe the deepest. They speak less but with more power. They act when moved by intuition, not pressure. They move with grace, not rush, because they know the true power is in alignment, not hustle, but through spoken law. They understand that the real work is internal, to build conviction so complete that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Conviction is a decision. It is not based on evidence, it creates evidence. When you die, something is true for you. Truly decide. The energy of that decision sets unseen forces into motion. This is why some people seem to attract success effortlessly. It is not that they are lucky or privileged in some mysterious way. It is that, consciously or unconsciously, they have accepted their good as inevitable. They do not question it. They do not fear its loss. And because of that, but through spoken law, the universe matches their belief. It is often said that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, but through spoken law. That substance is built through conviction. When you feel the outcome is certain, even before it arrives, you are living from the end. You are inhabiting the vibration of your desire fulfilled, spoken law, and because the universe responds to vibration, not words alone, it begins to arrange itself accordingly, but through spoken law. Effort without belief is like pushing a door that opens inward. You may work, plan, worry, and strive, but without inner alignment, but through spoken law, you may find that things do not move, or they move slowly and with struggle. But when you combine effort with conviction, through spoken law, when your outer actions are backed by inner knowing, everything accelerates. The right people appear. The doors swing open. The timing aligns with ease. Conviction also creates calm. The one who believes does not rush. They do not panic or chase. They act when guided, rest when needed, through spoken law, and trust that all is unfolding as it should. This inner calm is not passivity. It is power under control. It is the quiet strength that knows, what I have spoken must be fulfilled. The law cannot fail. The seed I have planted must grow. There is a spiritual energy that comes with conviction. Through spoken law, it radiates. People feel it. Opportunities are drawn to it. Conviction speaks not only through words but through posture, tone, and presence, but through spoken law. When you believe in your own value and your own destiny, you move differently. You speak with clarity. You walk with confidence, but through spoken law. You do not shrink in the face of opposition, because your inner yes is louder than any external no. To cultivate conviction, spoken law, you must first listen to your inner dialogue. Do your words match your desires? Do your thoughts support your vision? Or do you speak one thing and believe another? Every time you affirm your good, do so with feeling. Do so as if it is already true, but through spoken law. Allow the emotion of completion to rise within you. Feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude of the thing already done. The subconscious responds to feeling more than repetition. Repetition builds the path, but emotion gives it speed. This is why visualization, affirmation, and inner dialogue must all work together. See it, speak it, feel it. Let the energy of your desire fulfilled become your dominant frequency. That is conviction. Not wishful thinking, but spiritual embodiment. You are not hoping. It is already yours. You are not striving. You are claiming. You are not waiting. You are preparing. Because in the unseen, it already exists. Conviction is also a practice. It is not built in a moment but over time. You reinforce it with every affirmation, every visualization, every decision to trust rather than fear. When doubt arises, and it will, you simply return to the truth. You align. You say again with clarity, I know this is mine. And over time, doubt weakens. Certainty grows. This is the inner work. This is the true labor, not in pushing, striving, but through spoken law, or convincing others, but in convincing yourself. When your own heart and mind are unified, when there is no inner war, the outer must come into harmony. That is the law. That is the mystery. That is the gift of conviction. Money is not a master but a servant, a divine idea awaiting your command. It is not a lifeless coin nor a mere number in a ledger, but a living symbol of substance, ever responsive to the thought you hold and the word you speak. Too long has humanity feared money, chased it, doubted it, or spoken against it. Yet money, like all of life, moves in obedience to the law of mind. What you decree with certainty, it must perform. The world teaches that money is hard to come by, that it requires toil, strain, and endless sacrifice. But the truth whispers another story. Money is but energy in form, waiting for your recognition of its source. It is born of infinite supply, and infinite supply knows no lack. When you align with the law of abundance, you step into a river that flows ceaselessly, and every drop of it seeks to bless you. You are not a beggar at the gates of chance. You are heir to the kingdom of plenty. To command your money to multiply, you must first command your own words and thoughts. The spoken word carries life, and what you declare becomes flesh. If you say, I never have enough, the law of your word makes it so. If you say, money flows to me freely, easily, endlessly, the same law obeys, and substance hastens to clothe itself in visible form. The universe is a mirror, reflecting not what you wish but what you know. Therefore, know your good, speak your good, and your good must appear. Imagine money as a faithful servant standing silently at your side. It waits, it listens. It watches for your decree. If you treat it with fear, suspicion, or contempt, it recoils. If you bless it, honor it, and command it with authority, it leaps to fulfill its purpose. Money is not wicked nor holy. It is obedient. And obedience demands a master who knows how to speak. Plant your words as seeds in the rich soil of mind. Say, every dollar I touch returns to me multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Let no careless word of lack uproot that seed. Guard your speech as the farmer guards his field, for weeds of doubt grow quicker than corn. And remember, the harvest comes not by watching the sky in worry, but by resting in faith that the soil knows its work. Money multiplies when it moves, for stagnation is death. Release it joyfully, and it circles back with friends. Hoard it in fear, and it shrinks to dust. Give with a willing heart, and you open the floodgates for return. Command with love, not grasping, with certainty, not pleading. For money is spirit in action, and spirit knows no withholding. To command your money is to command life itself. It is to stand in the authority of truth and say, I am one with infinite supply. My wealth is limitless, my riches overflow. That which I send forth returns multiplied. Thus you do not chase money, you summon it. You do not labor for it, you call it. And as surely as the echo answers the voice, it must come. Money is a servant, not a master. When we begin to see money in its rightful place, as a tool, a symbol, and an obedient messenger of divine supply, we free ourselves from the chains of fear and worship that so often surround it. Too many souls have bowed down before money, as if it were a tyrant, giving it power over their emotions, their decisions, their peace of mind. Others have despised it, declaring it evil, unworthy, or corrupt, and in doing so, they have unconsciously cast away their own good. The truth lies beyond these extremes. Money has no power of its own. It is like a mirror reflecting the consciousness of the one who wields it. When treated as a master, it enslaves. When commanded as a servant, it obeys. To understand this law is to understand freedom. Imagine a household where the servant has taken the master's chair, dictating the rules and commanding the owner. Such a home would fall into disorder and confusion, for roles would be reversed. This is what occurs when people allow money to dictate the quality of their lives. They say, "I cannot do this because I have not enough." Or, "If only I had money, then I would be free." In such statements, they give money authority that belongs only to spirit. Spirit is the true source of all supply, the wellspring that never runs dry. Money is merely one of its many channels, an expression of abundance clothed in visible form. The master is always spirit, and you, as a channel of spirit, hold the authority to direct money into right action. The servant never argues, it listens and responds. If you instruct money with thoughts of lack, it obeys and multiplies lack. If you instruct it with confidence, blessing, and authority, it hastens to serve your good. To treat money as a servant is not to belittle it, but to honor its role. The servant is faithful, loyal, and reliable when the master is strong, clear, and loving in command. So too, money serves the one who stands firm in the truth of abundance. Consider the way fear binds humanity to money as master. People worry endlessly. What if it runs out? What if I cannot earn enough? What if I lose it? This fear turns money into a taskmaster, driving men and women into drudgery, robbing them of joy, health, and freedom. They rise early, labor long, and sleep uneasily, not because work itself is unworthy, but because they believe their security rests upon money. Yet security never rests upon the servant. The servant may change form, move through different hands, or vanish from sight for a season. But the true master, spirit, infinite supply, remains unshaken, eternal, and abundant. When one anchors in this truth, fear dissolves, and money takes its rightful place as a channel of service. Money does not create wealth. Consciousness creates wealth. A soul rich in awareness of divine supply can lose every coin and still draw riches again, for the source flows within, not without. Meanwhile, a soul impoverished in thought may grasp great sums yet find them slipping away, for their fear and unworthiness poison the servant's service. Money will mirror the inner law. If the inner law declares mastery, abundance flows with ease. If the inner law declares servitude to money, then bondage and worry must follow. To see money as servant is also to release guilt and resistance around it. Many have been taught that money is suspect, that it corrupts, that holiness and wealth cannot walk together. Yet does the sun not shine on the rich and the poor alike? Does not the earth yield fruit in abundance, without judgment or restraint? Money, like sunlight and water, is a form of energy. It carries no sin, no stain, unless the one who wields it uses it to bind rather than bless. When commanded rightly, money becomes a servant of love, freedom, generosity, and creation. It builds homes, feeds the hungry, clothes the naked, and brings beauty into form. When despised or feared, it withers in its purpose. The master of money must be one who speaks with authority. Authority is not arrogance, it is the calm certainty of truth. To say, "Money is my servant, and it obeys my command," is to recognize divine law. Just as the seed obeys the farmer, just as the river obeys gravity, so money obeys the consciousness that governs it. If you declare, "I cannot afford it," you place the servant in chains and strip yourself of authority. If instead you declare, "Infinite supply meets this need through perfect channels, and money flows to fulfill its purpose," then the servant rushes to perform. Imagine money as a loyal worker waiting at your gate, hands folded, ready for orders. If you ignore it, it idles. If you scorn it, it departs. If you fear it, it resists. But if you instruct it with clarity, it labors tirelessly, bringing back the fruit of your decree. The master must not hesitate, for hesitation confuses the servant. Speak clearly, speak firmly, and speak with faith. Faith is the command that seals the order. Doubt is the revocation that cancels it. Money, like any servant, thrives in circulation. A servant cannot serve if locked in a room, and money cannot serve if hoarded in fear. To command money is to direct its movement with wisdom. Go forth to bless, to create, to multiply, and return to me increased. When sent with love, it carries love. When sent with fear, it carries loss. The master understands that every act of giving is not depletion but instruction, a command that money return with greater measure. In truth, mastery over money is mastery over self. The one who fears, envies, or worships money reveals a heart unanchored in supply. the one who stands in quiet authority, blessing money as servant and directing it to holy use, reveals a heart aligned with the source of all. When the inner throne is restored, when spirit is master, and the individual takes their rightful seat of authority, then money finds its place as faithful servant. Words spoken about money shape its flow. Every word carries vibration, and vibration summons form. To speak of lack is to invite lack. To speak of abundance is to draw abundance nearer. The universe does not question your meaning. It only answers your tone, your decree, your affirmation. When you say, "I am always broke," or "I never seem to get ahead," those words travel like seeds into the soil of mind, and the soil, being ever fertile, returns them as harvest. The tongue, though small, turns the course of life as surely as a rudder turns a ship. You may not notice the immediate shift, but word by word, decree by decree, the invisible becomes visible, and the invisible is shaped by what is spoken. Money is particularly sensitive to speech because it is a symbol of flow. Flow responds to the channels created by thought and language. When you declare that money is hard to earn, the flow narrows, for you have created a narrow channel. When you speak that money arrives easily, joyfully, and continuously, the flow widens, for you have created a broad and generous channel. The law does not resist, it obeys. If the command is fearful, it obeys fear. If the command is confident, it obeys confidence. This is why two individuals, standing side by side in the same world, with the same opportunities, may experience entirely different outcomes. One blesses money, speaks well of it, and it hastens to serve. The other curses money, declares it scarce, and it flees from their hand. Consider how often careless words are spoken without thought. A sigh escapes, "I can't afford it," or a complaint arises, "Money slips through my fingers." Each statement is a decree, and the servant of supply rushes to fulfill it. The soil of the subconscious accepts every word as law. It does not filter whether the decree is for good or ill. It simply says, "So be it." A careless joke, a habitual phrase, a repeated lament. All are commands sent forth to shape reality. Therefore the wise one watches the words that leave their lips, for words are not empty. Words are seeds. Words are commands. Words are forces that move unseen substance into visible shape. To understand this principle is to wield a powerful key. You may turn at once from poverty consciousness to wealth consciousness by changing your speech. Declare, "I always have more than enough. Money flows to me richly and in perfect ways. Every dollar I spend returns to me multiplied." These words, when spoken with conviction, plant new seeds, new channels, new directions for the flow of money. They may seem simple, even not a V, yet the soil of the subconscious knows no argument. It accepts the words spoken often, spoken with feeling, spoken with certainty. Think of words as garments dressing the invisible. Spirit is formless, yet it needs shape to manifest in the visible world. Your words give it clothing. When you say, "I prosper," you clothe spirit in prosperity. When you say, "I lack," you clothe spirit in absence. The invisible substance is obedient, waiting only for the garment of your decree. It does not question whether you truly desire what you speak. It only moves into the form that words provide. That is why idle words are never idle in effect. They linger, they gather, they take root, and they return as experience. There is great danger in repeated negative confessions. The mind loves rhythm, repetition, familiarity. If you repeat long enough, "I never have enough," the subconscious adopts it as law, and soon reality bends to it. But there is equally great power in repeated positive declarations. The mind that hears often, "Money blesses me and I bless money. It flows to me freely and joyfully," begins to accept it as natural truth. Then opportunities appear, ideas arise, and money moves in alignment with the decree. The outer world rearranges itself to match the word planted within. Words not only shape your own flow of money, they also shape how money responds to others around you. When you speak well of another's prosperity, you align yourself with the same current. To envy or curse another's wealth is to shut the channel for your own. Words of blessing keep the flow open. Words of jealousy shut it tight. When you say, Their wealth proves mine is possible. You join the stream. When you say, "Why should they have and not I?" you step outside the stream. Blessing multiplies, cursing divides. The spoken word is never neutral. It is always creating or diminishing, opening or closing. To direct money with words requires not only affirmation but consistency. It is not enough to speak abundance in the morning and cancel it with doubt in the afternoon. Each contradiction uproots the seed. The soil is faithful, but the gardener must also be faithful. Hold your speech steady, align it with truth. Let no shadow word undo the light. Speak abundance not only when it is easy, but when appearances suggest the opposite. That is when the decree has greatest power. To say, "I am rich," while pockets seem empty, is to command substance in the face of illusion, and illusion must bow to truth. Guard also against speaking in jest against money. The subconscious does not laugh, it records. A jest about being poor is still a decree. A casual remark about being broke is still a command. Let your humor be rich, let your laughter affirm joy, but do not lace it with decrees of lack. Every word carries weight, whether whispered, shouted, or joked. The universe is a perfect listener, and it always replies with form. Speech not only shapes money but shapes your relationship to money. If you call it difficult, it becomes difficult. If you call it easy, it becomes easy. If you call it your faithful servant, it obeys. If you call it your elusive master, it rules you. The words you choose are the relationship you build. Speak as one who commands, not as one who begs. Speak as one who blesses, not as one who condemns. Speak as one who knows, not as one who doubts. Then money hears and flows accordingly. Bless and command money with authority. Money responds to the energy of blessing, because blessing is recognition of its rightful place in divine order. When you bless money, you lift it from the realm of fear and mistrust into the realm of gratitude and joy. Many people speak against money without realizing they are cursing their own supply. They say, "It goes too quickly," or "It is never enough," or "It brings trouble." Such words are curses, and money, being obedient, responds accordingly. But when you bless money, when you say, "You are a faithful servant, you multiply in my hands, you flow to me with ease," you set it free to fulfill its divine assignment. Money is not lifeless matter, it is energy clothed in form, and energy takes its cue from thought and word. To bless is to acknowledge the good in what is before you. Even the smallest coin, when blessed, holds the vibration of increase. The widow's mite, offered in faith, multiplied beyond measure. The loaf and fish, blessed and broken, became food for thousands. Blessing multiplies, because it recognizes the presence of infinite supply in visible form. Each time you hold money in your hand, you have the choice to see lack or to see abundance. If you complain, you close the channel. If you bless, you widen it. The blessing acts as a magnet, drawing more of the same vibration into your life. Commanding money with authority is the next step beyond blessing. Blessing acknowledges the good. Commanding directs it. Authority is not force, not strain, not grasping. It is the calm certainty of law. Just as the farmer commands the seed by planting it in soil, just as the captain commands the ship by setting its course, so you command money by decreeing its purpose and direction. Say to your money, "Go forth and return multiplied." Serve love, serve joy, serve freedom. In doing so, you release it into circulation with a definite order, and it must fulfill the decree. Money loves direction. Without command, it wanders or stagnates. With command, it becomes purposeful and fruitful. Authority over money begins within the consciousness of the one who speaks. The timid soul who whispers commands with doubt does not see results, for the authority is not yet claimed. True authority comes from alignment with the source of supply. The individual who knows that infinite spirit is the true owner of all wealth, and that they are heir to that wealth, speaks with the voice of law. Their words carry weight because they are spoken in truth. They do not plead, they decree. They do not beg, they affirm. This authority is quiet, firm, and unshakable, and money hastens to obey. Many shrink from the idea of commanding money because they believe it arrogant or materialistic. Yet to command rightly is to bring money into harmony with divine law. The master commands the servant not out of cruelty, but out of order. A servant left without instruction is wasted potential. Money left without command is wasted energy. By commanding money, you give it holy employment. You direct it toward increase, toward circulation, toward blessing. When you say, "Every dollar I spend returns to me multiplied," you are not grasping but guiding. You are not forcing but aligning. The words of command must be consistent and intentional. One moment of blessing cannot undo years of careless curses unless it is held firm with repetition and faith. Speak to your money daily. Speak to it when it comes, speak to it when it goes, speak to it even when it seems absent. Hold a coin, a note, a check, and say, "You are blessed. You are multiplied. You are a servant of good." Each word charges the substance with vibration, and vibration attracts its like. Over time, the pattern shifts and money begins to behave differently in your life. It lingers longer, grows larger, returns faster, because you have taught it its role. Authority requires watchfulness over inner speech as well as outer speech. It is not enough to command aloud if your thoughts contradict silently. If you speak blessing with your lips but harbor fear in your heart, the vibration is mixed and the result is confusion. Purity of command comes from inner agreement. Train your thoughts as you train your words. When the thought of lack arises, answer it with command. Infinite supply cannot fail. Money is my servant and returns to me multiplied. The repetition of inner command strengthens outer authority until both align in perfect faith. Blessing and commanding money also transforms your relationship with giving and receiving. Without blessing, giving feels like loss, and receiving feels like struggle. With blessing, giving is a command for multiplication, and receiving is the fulfillment of law. Each transaction becomes sacred, each exchange becomes circulation. Money is no longer a cause of anxiety but a channel of joy. You bless it as it leaves, knowing it must return, and you bless it as it arrives, knowing it comes to serve. This cycle builds trust, and trust strengthens authority. There is power in ritualizing your blessings and commands. Some hold their wallet or purse and speak words of increase. Others write affirmations and place them with their money. Still others speak aloud over checks, bills, or coins. The form does not matter. The intention does. Each act of blessing imprints the subconscious, and the subconscious imprints reality. What begins as deliberate practice becomes effortless habit, and soon every interaction with money is laced with blessing and authority. Those who master blessing and command discover that money begins to seek them. Opportunities arise unbidden, gifts arrive unexpectedly. Channels open in ways they could not have planned. This is not chance, it is the obedient response of substance to the voice of authority. The world may call it luck, but it is law. The one who blesses calls forth increase, the one who commands directs its flow. Together, blessing and command turn money into a faithful servant, tireless, obedient, and multiplying without end. Circulation multiplies wealth. Stagnation diminishes it. Money, like water, was made to move. The river that flows is clear, fresh, and abundant, while the pond that sits in stillness without outlet grows stagnant and fall. So it is with money. When held too tightly in fear, money loses its power to serve, to expand, to bless. But when released with wisdom and faith, it moves in ever-widening circles, returning again and again, each time increased. Circulation is the secret law of multiplication, and those who understand it live in a constant rhythm of giving and receiving. The mind trained in lack resists circulation. It says, "I must hold on to what I have, or I will lose it." Yet that very act of hoarding interrupts the natural law of flow. The tighter the grip, the less can enter the hand. Fear of loss becomes the magnet for loss, and what was clutched begins to dwindle. But the consciousness of abundance says, "I release this freely, and it returns multiplied." Such a declaration honors circulation, and circulation fulfills its promise. Each dollar given in faith goes out as seed, planted in the soil of the universe, destined to sprout and multiply. Money thrives in motion because motion reflects life. The universe itself is circulation, day flowing into night, tides moving in and out, seasons turning endlessly. Breath itself is a rhythm of circulation: inhale, exhale, receive, release. To breathe without exhaling is impossible. To hoard the breath is to suffocate. So too with money. To receive without giving is stagnation, and stagnation diminishes life. The one who learns to give freely, to let money move joyfully, lives in harmony with the greater law, and that law always ensures return. Circulation does not mean careless spending or wasteful indulgence. It means conscious release, guided by blessing and command. To circulate money is to send it forth with intention. This money goes to bless, to increase, to return multiplied. Each bill paid, each gift given, each purchase made is an act of sowing. When the seed is sown with joy, the harvest is inevitable. To give grudgingly is to plant in barren soil, but to give with gladness is to plant in fertile ground. The consciousness with which money leaves determines the condition in which it returns. Many fear that to give is to lessen their supply. Yet giving is never depletion, it is investment in circulation. The farmer does not lament the loss of seed when he scatters it upon the field. He knows it must return manyfold. So it is with money. Every dollar released in faith is a seed sown, and the soil of infinite supply never fails to bring harvest. The only difference lies in the attitude of the sower. Those who give sparingly reap sparingly, those who give generously reap generously. Not because of favoritism, but because circulation answers the measure of trust. Circulation is also the law of balance. Just as the body cannot thrive when blood pools in one place, so society cannot thrive when wealth is hoarded without movement. Money was made to pass from hand to hand, each time serving, each time blessing, each time creating new channels of good. When one hoards out of fear, the flow chokes and stagnation sets in. But when one trusts the law of circulation, the flow remains lively, vigorous, and expanding. To live in circulation is to live in the rhythm of life itself, where increase is natural and lack is impossible. The joy of circulation is that it multiplies not only the money itself, but also the good it carries. A dollar spent in bitterness carries bitterness. A dollar spent in joy carries joy. That joy returns in multiplied form, not only in money, but in experiences, in opportunities, in unexpected gifts. Circulation amplifies the vibration with which it is set in motion. Thus, to circulate with gratitude and gladness is to create a spiral of ever-increasing blessings. The consciousness of circulation also dissolves fear of loss. When you know that money returns multiplied, you no longer cling to each coin. You can release it easily, joyfully, confidently, because you trust the law. This freedom is wealth itself. For true wealth is not the amount in hand, but the certainty that more will always come. When you live in circulation, money is like the tide, always moving, always returning, always abundant. The fear of lack disappears, and with it disappears the need to hoard. To practice circulation, begin with what you have. Bless it, release it, let it move. Pay bills with gratitude, saying, "This money blesses and multiplies." Give gifts with joy, saying, "This money sows a harvest." Invest in yourself or others with confidence, saying, "This money grows as it circulates." Watch as the flow quickens, as opportunities appear, as money returns from unexpected directions. The universe loves movement, and money is eager to move when blessed and commanded rightly. Circulation also calls for receptivity. Just as the exhale requires an inhale, so giving requires receiving. Some resist receiving, believing it selfish, yet this too blocks the flow. To refuse a gift, to shrink from increase, is to close the channel. Circulation is a circle: what goes out must return, and what returns must be received. To give freely and receive freely is to honor the full law. To give without receiving is to deny the return. To receive without giving is to deny the flow. Only in balance is circulation complete. When circulation is understood, money ceases to be a burden and becomes a joy. Each act of giving is an affirmation of abundance. Each act of receiving is an affirmation of grace. The movement itself becomes proof of infinite supply. The stagnant pond of fear transforms into a flowing river of confidence. Money becomes light, quick, abundant, ever moving, never ending. Circulation multiplies wealth because it aligns with the eternal law of expansion, and expansion is the nature of spirit. Infinite supply answers faith, not fear. At the heart of all wealth lies the recognition that there is no limit in spirit. The storehouse of the universe is vast, overflowing, inexhaustible. Every tree bears countless seeds, every ocean contains countless drops, every star radiates endless light. Yet many live as though there were not enough, clinging to scraps, fearing tomorrow, hoarding in anxiety. This fear is a veil that blinds them to the truth. For infinite supply is always present, always available, but it can only flow through the open channel of faith. Fear closes the gate, faith opens it wide. Fear says, "What if it runs out?" Faith says, "It can never run out." Fear says, "I must struggle for my portion." Faith says, "My portion is assured, for I am one with the source." A faith is the magnet that draws from the invisible into the visible. When you hold faith, you hold the key that unlocks the treasure house. Faith is not wishful thinking or fragile hope, but firm knowing that the invisible is more real than appearances. The eye may see lack, the hand may feel emptiness, but faith looks deeper and sees abundance waiting to take form. Fear, on the other hand, magnifies appearances. It feeds on lack, it multiplies shadows, it convinces the mind that absence is real and presence is uncertain. The one who allows fear to govern closes their own channel. Infinite supply never ceases, but fear bars the door to its expression. Consider how often fear disguises itself as caution or wisdom. I must not spend, for what if more does not come? I must not invest, for what if it is lost? I must not give, for what if I am left without? Yet these words are not wisdom but bondage. They are chains forged by fear, and chains cannot attract freedom. Faith, in contrast, steps forward in confidence, knowing that each act of circulation calls forth more. Faith sows seed freely, knowing the harvest is sure. Faith gives generously, knowing return is multiplied. Faith acts as though the supply were already visible, and by that action, it becomes visible. Infinite supply is like a river pressing against the banks of human belief. If the banks are narrow, the river seems small. If the banks are wide, the river rushes in torrents. Faith widens the banks, fear constricts them. The river itself is never diminished, but your experience of it depends upon the space you allow. To live in faith is to widen, to expand, to expect. To live in fear is to contract, to shrink, to block. The difference is not in the source but in the vessel. Faith is exercised most clearly in the words you speak and the thoughts you hold. When you say, "I always have enough," you stand in faith. When you say, "I cannot afford it," you stand in fear. Infinite supply hears both, not as judgment but as command. It obeys your belief. If your belief is in lack, lack is provided. If your belief is in abundance, abundance is provided. The law is impartial, responding only to the vibration set in motion. Fear vibrates constriction, faith vibrates expansion. The choice lies ever in the one who speaks. Infinite supply does not answer the desperate cry of fear, because fear declares separation. Fear says, "I am alone, I am unsupported, I must struggle." Faith declares unity. "I am one with the source, I am heir to abundance. I rest in supply." The cry of fear is like a clenched fist that cannot receive. The song of faith is like an open hand, ready to be filled. The universe cannot place gold in a fist, but it can fill a hand stretched forth in trust. Those who live by fear often measure supply by what they see. They say, "There is little in my account, so there must be little for me." But what is seen is only the outpicturing of past thought. To look at lack and conclude more lack is to cement the cycle. Faith looks beyond appearances. Faith says, "Though my account seems small, infinite supply is vast, and it is already pouring into my life." By holding this truth, by speaking it, by acting from it, the outer must eventually reflect it. The inner command always shapes the outer form. Fear is noisy, urgent, filled with questions. Faith is quiet, steady, filled with certainty. Fear rushes, grasps, panics. Faith rests, trusts, knows. In the silence of faith, the answer appears. In the clamor of fear, the answer is missed. Infinite supply is always whispering, always guiding, but only faith can hear. Fear is too loud to notice. When one begins to live in faith, money ceases to be a burden and becomes a joy. Each dollar that arrives is greeted not with worry of its leaving, but with gratitude for its coming. Each dollar released is not mourned as loss but blessed as seed. Faith transforms the very atmosphere around money. It removes the heaviness of struggle and replaces it with the lightness of flow. Infinite supply answers to this lightness, for it is the natural state of abundance. Fear, being heavy and dense, blocks the flow, while faith, being open and expansive, invites it. Infinite supply is not earned by toil, nor withheld by mistake, nor delayed by circumstance. It is present always, awaiting recognition. Faith is the recognition. Faith says, "It is here now, though unseen; it is mine now, though not yet in hand. It is sure now, though the form has not arrived." And because infinite supply is responsive, the unseen becomes seen, the formless takes form, the invisible becomes visible. Fear cannot accomplish this, for fear is denial of supply. Faith alone opens the way. To cultivate faith, one must practice it daily. Each thought of lack must be answered with truth. Each fear-filled word must be replaced with a word of abundance. Each anxious act must be turned into a faithful one. Faith grows stronger with use, just as muscle grows stronger with exercise. Begin where you are, with what you have, and declare it enough. Bless it, command it, trust it to multiply. Each time you choose faith over fear, you widen the channel, and more of infinite supply flows through. Over time, faith becomes second nature, and fear loses its grip. In the quiet hush of the early morning, when the world still slumbers and the stars keep their silent watch, a divine whisper often stirs the soul. It is not a coincidence when your eyes flutter open between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. This sacred hour is not meant to be feared nor dismissed. It is a golden moment when the unseen realm speaks most clearly, and the channels of abundance are flung wide open. In that stillness, the veil between the visible and the invisible is thin, and the voice of infinite supply calls softly to those who will listen. The mind, unburdened by the noise of the day, is most receptive at this time. The spirit of prosperity does not shout, it speaks gently, with certainty, offering divine ideas, inspired actions, and open doors that lead to material blessings. Money, in its true essence, is not a cold, hard object. It is divine substance, an energy that flows freely when one aligns with the laws of supply. When God wakes you in those early hours, it is because the universe desires to place an idea in your heart, a vision in your mind, or a revelation in your soul that will bring increase and provision. This hour is not to be wasted with worry or doubt. It is a sacred appointment, a meeting with the infinite. Many ignore the nudge and return to restless sleep, but those who rise, those who listen, become co-creators with the divine. It is then that inspired ideas, which contain within them the seeds of gold, are revealed. It may be a thought so quiet it almost seems like your own. It may be a sudden clarity about a path forward. It may be the soft certainty that what you seek has already been given. The world often teaches that money comes only through toil and struggle, but divine supply knows no strain. Prosperity is not earned through fear, but received through alignment. When the Spirit wakes you between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., it is offering not just money, but the consciousness of abundance itself. The law of supply responds to faith, not to effort alone. At that hour, when doubts are still asleep, your faith stands closest to the divine mind. The air at this hour is charged with possibility. The silence is not empty, it is full of promise. Angels of provision move quietly, unseen but felt, arranging circumstances in your favor. Divine ideas are worth more than gold, for they draw to themselves all necessary resources. The inspired thought you receive in those hours may be the key to a door that has long been waiting to open. When God awakens you, do not turn away. Breathe deeply, listen. Acknowledge the presence that never fails. The wealth of the universe is eager to flow through willing hands, and your early rising is a sign that heaven itself is moving on your behalf. Money, then, is not merely paper or coin. It is divine energy in motion, seeking its rightful channels. You are one of those channels. In that still hour, the river of supply flows closest to the soul that listens. When the world is wrapped in darkness and the air is still, there is a moment that belongs to the divine alone. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., when most are lost in slumber, there is a subtle stirring that calls to the spirit. This hour is not ordinary, it is not random, it is a sacred appointment. A whisper from the infinite to the soul ready to receive. To be awakened during this time is not a disturbance, but an invitation. It is the hand of the divine gently touching the shoulder, saying, "Come, listen, I have something for you." This hour carries a spiritual vibration unlike any other. The noise of the world has subsided, the chatter of the mind has quieted, and the soul stands open like a still lake reflecting the stars. In this silence, there is a meeting between the human and the infinite. Many overlook it, dismiss it, or return to restless dreams, unaware that they have just turned away from a divine conversation. But those who recognize the call know that what happens in these quiet moments can shape the day ahead, the week ahead, and sometimes the entire course of their lives. It is a time when the divine mind is most clearly felt, not through loud proclamations, but through soft impressions, sudden knowings, gentle visions, or a deep sense of peace that speaks louder than any words. To be awakened at this hour is to be summoned into the presence of higher intelligence, a presence that knows what the day holds before the sun even rises. It is in this space that divine ideas descend like dew upon the heart, bringing clarity where there was confusion, hope where there was hesitation, and direction where there was uncertainty. A sacred appointment is not bound by walls or rituals. It is a meeting between two realms, the unseen and the seen. It is the moment when the veil thins and the soul stands close to the source from which all blessings flow. Many who have experienced breakthroughs in their lives can trace them back to a quiet hour when they rose from their beds and listened to a voice that was not their own, yet felt closer than breath. The divine does not wait for the busyness of the day to speak. It chooses the hour when distractions are few and the heart is open. This hour is not chosen at random. It is the hour of spiritual alignment. Nature itself is attuned to a quieter rhythm. The world outside rests in stillness, and the energy of the air carries a gentle charge. It is easier to hear, easier to believe, and easier to receive in this stillness. There are no competing voices, no demands pulling at the mind, only the soft pull of spirit. The awakening at this time is like an inner bell ringing, a signal that heaven wishes to meet with you in the secret chamber of your being. The appointment is not about striving, pleading, or struggling. It is about receiving. The infinite does not need effort to bless. It needs openness. When the soul answers this call, it steps into a space where divine supply can flow unhindered. The act of rising is a statement of faith, a quiet declaration that you are ready to receive. The divine responds not to noise but to readiness. This readiness is what turns an ordinary hour into a sacred one. The blessings that come at this hour are not always wrapped in material form. Often they come as divine ideas, those invisible seeds that hold within them the power to produce visible results. One idea, received in stillness, can change everything. It can open doors, attract resources, create new paths, and dissolve barriers. The divine appointment between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is not about luck or chance. It is about alignment with the source of every good thing. The soul that recognizes this appointment learns to approach it not with fear but with expectancy. It does not ask, "Why am I awake?" but rather, "What is being given to me in this moment?" This simple shift transforms sleeplessness into sacredness. The divine is always ready to give, but it is in these hours that the human spirit is most prepared to receive. It is a time when faith is not clouded by the weight of the day, when doubts sleep and intuition awakens. The very air carries a sense of quiet authority. The shadows of the night do not frighten. they become a veil behind which divine messengers move. Ideas float closer to the surface of consciousness. Solutions present themselves without resistance. Peace settles in like a warm cloak. This is why these hours are often called the spiritual watch, the watch where heaven speaks and the earth listens. It is also a time of divine trust. To be awakened during these hours is a sign that something is being entrusted to you. It may be insight, instruction, inspiration, or an inner assurance. The divine does not waste its whispers on deaf ears. If you are called at this hour, it is because your soul is ready to hear. The infinite trusts that what is given in silence will be carried into the noise of the day like a light in the darkness. This appointment is not limited to the few, it is extended to all, but not all recognize it. Some dismiss it as mere restlessness or coincidence, unaware that they have turned from a river of blessing flowing toward them. Yet for those who answer, the night becomes holy ground, and the hour becomes a wellspring of provision. In this sacred appointment, no grand gestures are needed. You do not need to shout to be heard, for the divine is already listening. You do not need to chase abundance, for it is already near. It is enough to be still, to open the heart, and to allow the presence of infinite supply to fill the space within and around you. To be awakened between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is to be gently drawn into divine timing. It is a moment where the human will and divine will can meet without resistance. It is a summons to listen, to receive, to trust, and to allow the river of abundance to flow in ways the mind cannot always understand, but the soul deeply knows. The early morning carries a language that does not speak in noise or clamor, but in quiet invitation. Between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., a stillness settles upon the world that feels unlike any other. It is a moment when everything external grows silent, so that something within can speak clearly. The air at that hour has a different weight to it, a softness that wraps around the spirit, drawing it inward. In that silence, the channels through which divine inspiration flows are wide open, and prosperity whispers its secrets to the soul that is awake and listening. The world is structured in rhythms, and the early morning is a sacred rhythm all its own. While most sleep, the atmosphere is charged with possibility. There are no distractions pulling at the senses, no responsibilities crowding the mind. It is a time when inspiration moves like a quiet current, ready to flow into the consciousness of the one who chooses to receive it. In the hush of that hour, the clutter of ordinary thinking loosens its grip, and higher thoughts rise to the surface, like gold dust on still water. Prosperity speaks most clearly when the noise of the world is hushed, for abundance is not chased or begged for, it is recognized. When one is awake in this silent hour, something subtle yet powerful occurs. The mind, often guarded during the day, stands open and receptive. This is not a forced openness, it is natural, as if some invisible hand has drawn back the curtains of doubt. Ideas that would have been drowned out in the daylight become clear and sharp. Thoughts of fear lose their authority, and divine inspiration, long waiting at the edges of awareness, steps forward. It is as if the gates of the inner temple swing wide, allowing the riches of the invisible world to pour into the visible. Prosperity does not always arrive in the form of coins or bills. It often begins as an idea. An idea carries within it the entire structure of abundance waiting to unfold. It may be a thought about a new path, a solution to a problem, a creative spark, or an intuitive knowing that something good is near. When the world is silent, these ideas no longer have to compete. They rise to the surface effortlessly, meeting a mind that is no longer pushing, striving, or questioning, but simply receiving. This is why the early morning hour is such a sacred channel. It bypasses the noise of doubt and the constant hum of worldly concerns. The mind becomes a clear vessel. In this vessel, prosperity pours itself like a golden stream, not with urgency, but with quiet certainty. It is a soft knowing rather than a loud declaration. The silence is not empty, it is full, overflowing with the quiet hum of divine activity. In this stillness, a kind of conversation takes place between the soul and the infinite. It does not always use words. Sometimes it is felt rather than heard. A calmness that carries the weight of assurance, a sudden clarity that requires no explanation. This is the language of prosperity, and it speaks most fluently when everything else is quiet. When a soul is attuned to this moment, it becomes a channel for inspired action. The steps that follow are not born of struggle, but of guidance. The early morning silence does not demand, it invites. It is an open doorway, a clear river. Those who step into it find that their thoughts shift from scarcity to possibility. There is something powerful about hearing inspiration in the stillness. It feels certain, inevitable, unshakable. It is not forced through effort, but received through trust. This is where divine ideas, the true currency of wealth, find fertile ground. Every great movement begins with a single inspired thought, and those thoughts often come when the world is asleep. This is the hour when inventions are born, when solutions rise, when the soul recognizes that it is not separate from abundance but one with it. Prosperity flows through inspiration, and inspiration flows through silence. In this way, the early morning becomes a secret meeting place between the individual and the boundless source. It is a time when what is unseen feels close, when the ordinary mind gives way to the extraordinary. It is not necessary to force prosperity to come. It is only necessary to clear the space so that it can be heard. The silence of the early morning is that space. When the spirit listens here, it hears in ways it cannot hear in the noise of daylight. Every inspired thought is like a seed, and the quiet hour is the fertile soil in which it is planted. But silence does not judge. It does not require credentials, status, or wealth. It simply waits, ready to deliver its treasures to anyone willing to be still enough to receive them. It is a quiet river flowing beneath the surface of the world, and this hour is when its sound becomes audible. The soul tuned to this rhythm recognizes its own power to receive without resistance. In this moment, the channel of abundance is not something outside, it is something alive within. When prosperity whispers in the stillness, it speaks with the authority of certainty. There is no sense of striving, no doubt, no question of whether abundance will come. The feeling is quiet but steady, like a current that cannot be stopped. It does not speak in the language of fear or urgency, but in the language of ease. It is in this ease that inspired ideas are received with clarity and carried into the day with strength. The early morning hour is a sacred teacher. It shows that abundance does not arrive through noise, pressure, or demand. It flows through a clear channel. That channel is silence, and silence is never empty when one knows how to listen. In that hour, the connection between the inner and outer worlds grows strong. The ideas received there are not fragile. They are imbued with the weight of divine authority. They carry their own momentum, their own power, to attract the form that matches their substance. This hour does not belong to the world, it belongs to the infinite. It is when the outer world sleeps and the inner world awakens fully. The door to inspiration is open wide, and prosperity walks through it quietly, bringing with it visions, clarity, and assurance. The soul that learns to listen in this silence becomes fluent in the language of abundance. The stillness becomes its teacher, its guide, its channel for all that is good. There is a power that moves in quiet hours, that does not move the same way in the noise of the day. It is steady, patient, and unshakable. When the soul aligns with this quiet flow, prosperity finds its natural path, for abundance is never forced. It is allowed. The early morning silence is the purest channel through which inspiration travels, and inspiration is the key through which prosperity enters. Money, in its truest essence, is not a lifeless object or a hard, cold possession. It is divine substance, a living current that moves through consciousness before it ever takes the shape of currency or coin. It is born in the invisible realm long before it appears in the physical one. It is not merely paper, metal, or numbers on a screen. It is energy clothed in form, flowing where it is welcomed, lingering where it is honored, multiplying where it is trusted. To see money only as matter is to see the shadow and ignore the light that casts it. But to see it as divine substance is to step into a relationship with abundance that is rooted in the eternal, not the temporary. Divine substance is infinite and ever-present. It does not come and go as circumstances dictate. It does not shrink when doubt grows, nor does it vanish when outer appearances change. It exists as a constant, an invisible reservoir from which all material forms of wealth are drawn. When the mind sees money as a fixed and limited thing, it locks itself in fear and scarcity. But when the soul understands that money is simply the outer expression of an inner substance, the gates of supply begin to open. This shift is not a small one. It changes everything. Fear of lack loses its power when one knows that the source of all money is not a job, not a person, not an economy, but the infinite flow of divine substance. This substance does not depend on human approval, nor does it obey human limitation. It is governed by spiritual law, and spiritual law is constant. It gives to all who align with it, not out of favoritism but out of principle. To understand money as divine substance is to step out of the cramped corridors of worry and into the wide, sunlit fields of trust. Money flows like water through channels. It is never created by force but by alignment. The visible channels may be jobs, businesses, opportunities, or unexpected blessings, but the source behind them is unseen. When one mistakes the channel for the source, fear begins to grow. If the channel dries up, the mind panics, believing the source has disappeared. But divine substance is never exhausted. It simply seeks new channels. Like a river, if one path closes, it carves another. When the consciousness remains aligned with the truth that money is divine substance, it does not cling to the form. It trusts the flow. Divine substance has no lack within it. It is pure supply, untainted by fear, untouched by doubt. It does not worry about economies, markets, or circumstances. It flows where it is welcomed, where faith makes room for it, where gratitude creates space for it to settle. When a soul recognizes money as divine substance, it stops chasing it. It begins to attract it naturally, not through struggle, but through a state of inward certainty. Every thought held about money is a seed planted in the soil of consciousness. If the seed is fear, the harvest is struggle. If the seed is trust, the harvest is supply. Divine substance responds not to desperation, but to recognition. When the soul acknowledges it as real and ever-present, the channels of material wealth begin to arrange themselves without strain. The outer reflects the inner. A consciousness rooted in abundance draws abundance, like a magnet draws metal. Money, when seen as mere material, can be clutched at, hoarded, and feared. But when seen as divine substance, it is treated with reverence, not desperation. It becomes a partner, not a master. It becomes a flow, not a possession. This understanding transforms one's relationship with wealth. The hands that once clutched now open. The heart that once calculated now receives. Divine substance cannot be lost because it is not owned in the way material things are owned. It is participated in, like air or sunlight. One cannot hoard sunlight. One can only open the curtains and let it in. So it is with divine substance. It flows through consciousness like light through a window. When the mind is closed with fear, the light seems absent. When the mind is open with faith, the light floods in. The substance was always there. Only the opening was needed. This is why prosperity is not determined by circumstance but by consciousness. Two people may stand in the same place, with the same outer conditions, but one lives in lack and the other in abundance, because one sees only the shadow, while the other perceives the light. One clings to the visible and fears its loss. The other trusts the invisible and knows its constancy. Divine substance is intelligent. It moves with purpose, drawn by faith and expectation. It does not linger where it is feared or mistrusted, for fear creates barriers and doubt builds walls. But gratitude and expectancy open doors. To say, "I trust the divine substance to provide," is to align oneself with the rhythm of supply. It is not a plea for charity, but a recognition of law. Money, seen as divine substance, loses its power to enslave. It no longer stands as a wall between desire and fulfillment. It becomes the bridge between idea and manifestation. When one sees through the illusion of separation, money ceases to be something to grasp at and becomes something to work with. It becomes an obedient servant, carrying the energy of the infinite into form. This understanding elevates even the simplest act of receiving. A coin is not just a coin. It is evidence of an invisible river flowing through your life. A transaction is not just a transaction. It is the movement of divine energy clothed in material shape. A bill paid is not a loss. It is the circulation of substance, and what circulates returns, multiplied. To bless the flow is to keep it moving. To fear it is to freeze it. Divine substance recognizes no boundaries of time or place. It is as present in silence as it is in markets. It moves, not because of the world, but through it. It is the unseen backbone of every exchange, every opportunity, every blessing. To be conscious of it is to walk in quiet confidence, to know that the appearance of lack is never the reality of lack. The appearance is temporary, the substance is eternal. This is why prosperity begins not in the hand, but in the mind. It begins in the invisible, where the law of supply operates with perfect order. When you begin to treat money as divine substance, fear dissolves like mist before the sun. You no longer beg for it to come. You simply align with the truth that it is already here, waiting to take form through whatever channel is ready to receive it. Money is not against you. It does not withhold itself out of cruelty or chance. It responds, like all divine things, to the vibration of faith. It is substance in motion, drawn by consciousness, guided by belief, multiplied by gratitude. It is not a prize to be earned, but a river to be stepped into, and this river flows whether you acknowledge it or not, but it rushes forth when you do. To see money as divine substance is to live from a place of quiet power. It is to stop fearing the flow and start trusting the source. It is to know that every coin, every note, every opportunity, every open door is not separate, not random, but all part of the one eternal current of divine supply. This current is never exhausted, never absent, never uncertain. It moves as consciousness moves, and it takes shape where faith gives it form. Faith is the invisible magnet that draws supply from the unseen into the seen. It does not chase, it does not grasp, it does not strain. It simply trusts. Alignment is the quiet posture of the soul that knows abundance flows naturally when resistance falls away. While the world teaches that money comes only through relentless struggle and endless effort, spiritual law moves on a different current. It is not the loudest voice or the most forceful hand that opens the gate of provision, but the heart that stands steady in trust. Faith opens doors that force cannot budge. Alignment creates pathways where resistance once stood. Struggle often rises from the belief that we are separate from the source of our good, that supply must be earned through sweat alone, and that if we stop pushing, everything will fall apart. But faith whispers a different story. Faith speaks of a river already flowing, waiting only for the heart to step in. Faith does not create abundance, it recognizes it. It does not beg for doors to open, it sees that they are already unlocked. To live in alignment is to stop wrestling with life and to start allowing the unseen order to unfold its perfect design. The mind trained in fear believes that prosperity is scarce, that one must run faster, work harder, and fight longer to hold on to a limited share. But faith knows that divine supply is endless. There is no shortage in infinite substance. It is never diminished by another's gain. It does not run out when the world declares scarcity. Faith is the hand that reaches beyond appearances and draws from what cannot be depleted. The soul that trusts no longer runs breathless after abundance. It stands still and allows abundance to flow to it. Alignment is not inaction, it is inspired action, born from trust. It is the difference between rowing against a current and flowing with it. When the soul is aligned, every action is lighter, clearer, more direct. It no longer arises from panic or desperation, but from a quiet knowing. This knowing carries power, for it comes from a place beyond fear. Faith gives action a different quality. It carries an invisible force that seems to open doors with ease. What once required strain now seems to unfold naturally. The world often glorifies struggle, calling it strength, but true strength is not in struggling against the river. It is in trusting it enough to flow with it. Faith does not mean passivity. It means listening to the quiet instruction that comes from within and acting upon it without doubt. It is the inner assurance that the step you take is supported by something larger than you. When faith leads, doors open without knocking them down. Fear creates tightness. It closes the heart and narrows vision. It makes one cling to what little they believe they have, fearing that letting go means losing everything. But faith loosens that grip. It says, there is more where that came from. Alignment widens the view. It allows the mind to see opportunities that fear blinded it to. Faith does not need to know every detail of how supply will come. It only needs to know that it will. When a soul is aligned with the flow of abundance, it stops chasing and starts receiving. The energy shifts. Instead of being a pursuer of good, it becomes a channel through which good flows. Opportunities appear where none were visible before. Connections form naturally. Circumstances align in quiet, almost unnoticed ways. It is not luck, it is the natural result of moving in harmony with spiritual law. The anxious mind spends its energy in worry, asking, how will it come? Faith rests in the certainty that it is already on its way. The misaligned spirit tries to push against locked doors. Alignment gently walks through the one that is already open. It is this quiet trust that turns chaos into order, lack into flow, and struggle into grace. Effort alone without faith exhausts. It builds walls of tension, which block the very thing being sought. But faith, paired with alignment, turns even the smallest effort into a seed planted in fertile soil. It multiplies results, not by force, but by unseen support. When faith leads, every action carries weight far beyond its visible size. It is as though the universe leans in to meet you halfway. Faith is not the absence of action, it is the presence of certainty. It allows the heart to act from peace, not panic. It allows the mind to plan from vision, not fear. It allows the soul to move without questioning whether it is worthy to receive. This quiet certainty is what makes faith so powerful. It is invisible, yet it shifts everything. Happiness becomes optional only after faith meets. Alignment means being in harmony with the truth that abundance is natural. It does not need to be forced into existence. It does not need to be begged for. It is like the air, always present, always ready to be received. The misaligned spirit gasps and grasps, believing the air is scarce. The aligned soul breathes deeply and trusts it will never run out. Faith softens what struggle hardens. It makes the impossible pliable. Where there was a wall, faith reveals a door. Where there was fear, faith plants assurance. Alignment turns the eyes away from the world's noise and points them inward, toward the quiet source that never fails. It is here, not in the loud scramble of fear, that the true work of abundance begins. Money flows where it is trusted. Prosperity responds to faith like a seed responds to sunlight. It does not thrive in the shadow of fear. It flourishes in the light of trust. To align with abundance is to live in a way that says, without words, I know I am provided for. This unspoken declaration draws to it everything needed, at the right time, through the right channels. The energy of faith carries a calmness that is louder than panic. It does not shout, yet it moves mountains. It does not demand, yet it receives. It does not chase, yet it attracts. When one lives in faith, they stop vibrating in scarcity and begin to vibrate in sufficiency. They stop asking if and start declaring it is. This is not denial of reality, but alignment with a higher one. Struggle believes the world must be controlled. Faith knows it already is. Struggle sees closed doors. Faith knows doors are not the only way in. Struggle counts every coin, fearing it will be the last. Faith blesses the coin, knowing it is part of an endless flow. Alignment is the state where fear no longer dictates the rhythm. Faith becomes the compass, guiding every step with quiet assurance. The unseen responds to belief, not desperation. Desperation speaks of doubt. Faith speaks of knowing. Alignment removes the friction between desire and manifestation. It turns what once seemed far away into something near and natural. This is why those who move in faith often seem to receive with ease, not because life favors them more, but because they have stopped fighting the current and begun to flow with it. Faith is the language of abundance, and alignment is its posture. Together they dissolve the walls built by fear and open the channels that struggle could not unlock. In their presence, what was once difficult begins to unfold with quiet power, as if life itself had been waiting for this soft surrender. The stillness of the early morning carries a rare kind of power. It is not loud, it does not arrive with noise or urgency, and yet it holds a weight that can shift the entire course of a life. In that soft hour before the world awakens, when everything outside is quiet, the inner world grows louder. It is then that doors open which remain closed during the busy noise of the day. When a soul listens in this stillness, it steps into a space where divine provision moves freely, unobstructed by doubt, fear, or distraction. The unseen world speaks most clearly to the ears that are willing to hear without rushing to respond. Listening is not merely the absence of talking. It is the art of becoming fully open. It is a soft posture of the heart, a quiet readiness to receive what cannot be heard in the clamor of daytime thoughts. The world is full of people who speak their desires, declare their goals, cry out their needs, but very few who listen deeply. In the stillness there is a kind of spiritual language that does not use words. It speaks in impressions, in quiet knowings, in subtle pulls that feel like whispers brushing against the soul. These whispers are not random. They are invitations from the infinite supply to step into alignment with provision. Provision often does not arrive as a sudden flood. It begins as a whisper, a nudge, a subtle shift. The one who listens recognizes it. The one who ignores it passes it by, never realizing how close abundance came. In those early hours, when nothing demands your attention, when the world's grip on your mind loosens, the divine speaks softly but with certainty. It reveals paths that were hidden by noise, answers that lay just beyond the edge of rushing thoughts, opportunities that exist just beneath the surface of ordinary awareness. Listening becomes a key that unlocks what force cannot. When the soul listens, it enters a state beyond striving. It stops trying to make things happen by pushing against invisible walls. Instead, it allows what is meant to flow to flow. Listening creates room for provision to find its way without resistance. It is not passive, but deeply active in its quietness. It is like a sail catching the wind, not by force, but by positioning. The wind is always there. The listening soul simply turns its sail toward it. The unseen world does not scream. It does not compete with noise. It waits for quiet. It waits for the mind to loosen its grip, for the heart to relax its tension. It is patient, steady, and sure. When you listen in stillness, you meet this quiet presence halfway. You become a space where answers can land, where provision can flow, where guidance can make itself known. This is why those who cultivate stillness often find doors opening without pushing. They are not forcing opportunities, they are hearing them before they appear. Listening is a form of trust, It is an acknowledgement that not everything needs to be controlled or figured out by force of will. It is the recognition that provision has a voice of its own, and that voice is best heard in silence. Fear shouts, doubt chatters, faith listens. Provision does not enter through panic, but through quiet reception. Those who rise in the early morning and sit with the stillness are not being idle. They are standing in the presence of guidance that does not arrive in crowded rooms or noisy minds. In the still hour, divine whispers are pure. They are not tangled in the doubts that collect during the day. They are clear, like water flowing from a hidden spring. These whispers may come as sudden clarity about something long confusing. They may come as a peaceful sense of what to do next, not loud, not forceful, but undeniable in their quiet strength. When acted upon, they lead to provision with a grace that struggle could never manufacture. Listening does not mean waiting helplessly. It means opening fully. It is a dynamic state of awareness, one that allows the smallest prompt to be felt. Sometimes provision enters life not through grand announcements, but through a simple idea at dawn, a sudden thought that seems ordinary but carries gold within it. The early morning is when those ideas are most likely to surface because there is space for them to rise. Provision responds to listening hearts. It is drawn to stillness because stillness holds faith. Noise carries fear, and fear pushes away what trust would attract. The universe speaks in soft tones, not because it is weak, but because it does not need to shout to be true. It knows its power. It waits for you to be still enough to hear it, and when you do, you discover that abundance has been speaking all along, waiting for a moment of quiet to be acknowledged. Listening in stillness also sharpens intuition. It strengthens that inner sense that knows without needing to prove. This intuition is not separate from provision. It is the way provision announces itself before it arrives. It is the soft glow before the sun rises. Those who learn to trust this inner voice find themselves moving with the rhythm of abundance instead of fighting against it. They make choices that look effortless because they were guided rather than driven. In the quiet, listening becomes a bridge. On one side stands desire, on the other stands provision. The bridge is not built with noise, plans, or panic. It is built with silence and trust. As you listen, the invisible begins to take shape. Paths appear. Resources align. People cross your way at the right time. It is not a mystery, it is law, moving through the open space created by your stillness. The unseen world carries wisdom beyond the reach of conscious thought. While the mind wrestles to solve problems, the divine simply waits for a moment of quiet to offer the solution. Listening is how the solution is heard. It is how the answer slips into awareness without force. It is how provision arrives quietly, like morning light creeping across a dark room. The one who listens sees what others overlook because they are too busy speaking, planning, or worrying to hear. Listening is also an act of surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but of trust. It says, without words, I am ready to receive. This readiness creates space. The stillness becomes like an empty vessel into which abundance can pour itself. A noisy, restless vessel has no room, but a quiet, open one invites the flow naturally. The whisper does not have to fight to be heard, it simply lands, and the one who hears it knows what to do next. Provision is not random, it follows channels, and listening opens those channels. The early morning is one of the clearest channels, because the world is quiet, the air is still, and the soul is closest to its own center. In that space, every whisper matters, every nudge carries direction, every soft prompting is a seed. These seeds, when followed, become doors, opportunities, blessings that seem to arrive at the perfect time. The world often believes that loudness and force make things happen, but the quiet has its own power. It is the quiet that allows the invisible to speak clearly. It is the quiet that draws abundance near. It is the quiet that reveals what effort alone could never uncover. When you listen in stillness, you step into alignment with a rhythm that has always been present, but often missed. Provision is always speaking, but it is not always heard. The early hour belongs to those who choose to listen, who understand that abundance does not need to be wrestled from life, but welcomed. Listening turns ordinary mornings into sacred moments, moments where the unseen moves toward the seen, where the flow of good meets the readiness of the soul. In this quiet space, doors do not need to be forced, they simply open. Life is not meant to be lived in chains of routine, nor under the gray skies of endless repetition. Too many souls march to the rhythm of a clock that does not sing their song. They rise at the appointed hour. They hurry to a place that stifles their spirit, and they give their energy to tasks that do not belong to their true calling. Yet within every man and woman is planted a seed of freedom, a seed of creative power, a seed of destiny. The world tells us we must labor long years before we may taste liberty. The world tells us that only a chosen few may escape the weary tread of the 9 to 5. But that is not the truth. The truth is that the law of mind, the law of faith, and the law of right action are available to every person who dares to believe. What you seek is already yours. It is only hidden by fear, doubt, and the shadow of old habits. To quit your 9 to 5 in 9 months is not a boast nor a trick of chance. It is the demonstration of a law that never fails when rightly applied. For thought is a magnet, and belief a mold into which life pours its substance. When you hold the image of freedom steadily before you, when you walk in the assurance that you are guided and supported, doors swing open. Opportunities unfold, and the way becomes clear. The formula is not of man's invention. It is the pattern of universal supply and divine timing. 9 months is the cycle of creation, the period in which that which is invisible takes form. As the child grows hidden within the womb until the appointed hour, so does your vision of freedom take shape in the unseen. Until it stands revealed in the seen, your task is not to struggle, but to align. Your work is not to toil, but to trust. The old belief says, I must work harder longer, sacrifice more. But the higher law declares, I move in perfect rhythm with infinite intelligence, and all that I require is already prepared. Each step of the 9-month journey is a step of faith, a step of clarity, and a step of fearless action. With every day you replace fear with certainty, doubt with assurance, and limitation with expansion. You are not breaking free by force. You are simply claiming the freedom that has been waiting for you. The 9 to 5 is not your master, unless you give it power. Circumstances are not chains unless you bow before them. The formula is simple: hold fast to your vision. Align with the law of supply, take inspired action, and refuse to accept defeat. In 9 months, what was once a dream becomes your lived reality. For the law works with mathematical exactness and unfailing precision. Every creation begins first as a thought, as an image within the mind, as a silent sketch drawn upon the canvas of imagination. Nothing comes into being that has not first been seen within, whether faintly as a dream or vividly as a picture, so real it cannot be denied. The chair you sit upon, the clothes you wear, the buildings that rise around you, all were once only ideas in the heart of someone who dared to imagine. What is true of the physical world is even more true of the life you long to live. Freedom cannot come to you until you have first seen yourself free, felt yourself free, and accepted freedom as your natural inheritance. Many say they wish to leave their 9 to 5, yet they hold in their minds only the picture of drudgery. They rehearse the weight of the alarm clock, the endless commute, the tasks that drain them, and they speak more of what they hate than of what they desire. But by the law of mind, that which you give energy to, that which you speak of and dwell upon, expands in your life. A man chained in thought cannot be free in circumstance. To step into a new reality, the picture of that reality must be painted first within. You must see yourself rising with joy, working in alignment with your talents, receiving abundance through channels that bring you satisfaction and expansion. You must picture your days ordered not by an external master, but by your inner rhythm. You must hold fast to the image of yourself walking in liberty, even when appearances scream otherwise. For appearances are but shadows, and shadows cannot resist the light of unwavering vision. The secret is to hold the picture steadily, as if it were already true. Not as something far away, not as something that might happen if luck favors you, but as a certainty unfolding by divine law. Every day you water this picture with faith. Every day you polish it by removing the dust of doubt. Every day you step into it as though it were your present reality. When the mind wavers, when fear whispers that you cannot, you return again to the image of freedom. You speak it, you feel it. You see it until it grows more real to you than the desk before your eyes or the clock above your head. This is not daydreaming, this is creation. For thought is substance, thought is magnetic, thought is the seed from which experience springs. The man who holds the picture of bondage draws more chains to himself, and the one who holds the picture of freedom attracts the conditions that break the chains. Just as the sculptor sees the figure within the stone before the chisel strikes, so must you see the life of liberty before circumstances begin to shift. The clearer the picture, the swifter the form takes shape. Yet clarity does not come through force. It comes through repetition, through quiet meditation, through the gentle insistence of the mind upon what it knows to be true. In the morning, before the rush of demands, hold the image of freedom close. See yourself living the day as you wish it to be, not as habit has trained it. At night, before you sleep, step again into the vision. The subconscious, which never slumbers, will carry that image and work to align your outer life with your inner command. The world may call you unrealistic. They may say, "How can you leave what is secure? How can you imagine life so different in so short a time?" But the world speaks from fear, from the belief that appearances are permanent and that man is bound by circumstance. The truth is otherwise. Circumstances are clay, and thought is the potter. What you refuse to imagine cannot come to you, but what you dare to see clearly and continually will find its way to you with precision. When the old picture rises, the picture of long hours, of scarcity, of frustration, you do not fight it, you replace it. You speak softly within yourself, "This is not my truth. My truth is freedom. My truth is abundance. My truth is joyful work." Then you return again to the vision of what is yours. The repetition of truth dissolves the shadow of falsehood. To hold the picture unwaveringly does not mean you never feel doubt. It means doubt does not command you. It may knock at your door, but you do not invite it to stay. You turn your gaze back to the image of liberty, and you anchor yourself in it as one anchors a ship in the midst of storm. The winds may howl, the waves may rise, but the vision holds steady, and in time the storm passes. The power of vision is not measured by how loud you declare it, but by how faithfully you return to it. A single clear image, held with constancy, will carve new paths in the unseen and call forth opportunities, ideas, and connections that you could not have planned. The mind that holds freedom sees openings where others see walls. It recognizes doors that would remain invisible to the one still chained by thought. Vision is the womb of manifestation. Without it, nothing takes form. With it, everything is possible. To leave the 9 to 5 in 9 months is not about forcing events, but about gestating a new reality within the soil of imagination. Just as the child forms cell by cell in secret before the mother beholds the infant in her arms, so does your life of freedom form detail by detail in the unseen before you walk into it with your feet. Therefore, guard your vision as you would guard treasure. Speak not carelessly of failure, for words reinforce pictures. Keep company with thoughts and images that lift your belief higher. Let every action, every plan, every step you take flow from the picture of freedom already complete. When the vision holds steady, the outer world must bend, for the outer is only the reflection of the inner. All of life unfolds in divine order, and every manifestation follows a rhythm that cannot be hurried nor delayed. The seasons turn by invisible command. Spring does not rush into summer, nor does autumn skip into winter. Each stage has its appointed hour, and in that rhythm lies harmony. Just as the earth requires time to bring forth a harvest, so does every dream require its cycle of creation. 9 months is not chosen by chance. It is the ancient measure of gestation, the sacred period in which the unseen becomes seen, in which the hidden seed takes form until it bursts forth as life. When you decide to release the 9 to 5 and step into freedom, you are planting a seed. That seed is your intention, your vision, your choice to align with abundance and liberty rather than with limitation and routine. The moment you plant it, the process begins, though to your outer eyes there may be no sign. Just as the farmer does not dig up the soil each day to see if the seed has sprouted, you too must trust the invisible work. You water the seed with faith, you shield it with affirmations, you give it light through gratitude, and you allow it to unfold in its perfect time. Impatience is the enemy of creation. Many begin with enthusiasm, but when they do not see immediate results, they abandon their vision, declare it impossible, and return to old patterns. They forget that the oak tree does not spring up overnight, nor does the child arrive the moment after conception. There is a sacred rhythm, a divine intelligence at work behind the scenes, arranging circumstances, preparing opportunities, and aligning resources that you may not yet see. To trust the process is to stand in quiet confidence, knowing that the unseen is more powerful than the seen, and that what you have declared is already on its way. The 9-month cycle is also a symbol of transformation. During this period, old structures dissolve, habits shift, and new patterns emerge. There may be discomfort, as growth often requires shedding what no longer serves. There may be uncertainty, as the old way crumbles before the new has fully appeared. Yet this is part of the process. Just as the caterpillar enters the cocoon and must surrender to transformation before emerging as the butterfly, so must you release the safety of routine to embrace the unknown of freedom. Trusting the process means allowing yourself to be reshaped, to be prepared for the life you have called forth. In the unseen, much is occurring that your senses cannot grasp. New ideas may be stirring quietly in your mind, connections may be forming beyond your knowledge. Opportunities may be aligning in ways that only time will reveal. You may meet a person seemingly by chance who holds the key to your next step, or stumble upon an idea that shifts your entire path. None of this is coincidence. It is the law of creation weaving together the threads that match your vision. The seed you planted draws to itself all that is required for its growth. The 9 months serve not only to form the manifestation, but also to prepare you. For what good is freedom if you are not ready to walk in it? What good is abundance if your mind still clings to scarcity? What good is opportunity if you are bound by fear? During this sacred cycle, you are being refined. Old doubts rise to the surface so that they may be released. Limiting beliefs reveal themselves so they may be dissolved. Habits of thought that once chained you are brought into light so they may be replaced with truth. The process is not only about creating the outer change, but also about shaping you into the one who can live in freedom with joy and mastery. Many resist this inner work, thinking only of the outer result. They ask, when will the change come? When will I be free of this job? But the question must first be, when will I be free within? When will I accept fully that I am not bound? For once the inner freedom is established, the outer follows swiftly. The 9 months are not a delay. They are a gift, ensuring that when the change comes, it is complete, stable, and lasting. Consider the mother who carries life within her. She does not rush the process, for she knows that each stage is essential. The child forming within her must pass through all phases of growth before it is ready for the world. She trusts the unseen work of nature. Though she cannot see it directly, she feels its movements, she honors its timing, and she prepares herself for the arrival. So too must you carry your vision with patience and faith. You may not yet see the form, but you feel the stirring within, you sense the life growing, and you prepare yourself for its manifestation. To trust the unseen process is to rest in certainty. Certainty is not forced optimism, nor blind hope. It is quiet knowing. It is the assurance that because you have planted the seed, the harvest must come. It is the understanding that the universe is never late, and that what belongs to you cannot be withheld. Even in moments when progress seems invisible, the unseen is alive with activity, shaping, aligning, preparing. The delay is only in perception, not in truth. There may be moments when the old life presses heavily, when the 9 to 5 seems endless, when doubt whispers that nothing is changing. In those moments, you remind yourself of the law. You declare, "Though I do not yet see it, I know it is forming. Though I do not yet walk in it, I know it is prepared." You anchor yourself in the truth that creation takes time, and time is your ally, not your enemy. Each day brings you closer to the unveiling. Each month reveals another step in the cycle. The 9th month will come as surely as the dawn follows the night, and with it, the birth of what you have carried within. Fear is the great robber of destiny, the silent thief that steals the treasures of the soul before they ever reach your hands. It whispers of danger. It paints pictures of failure. It chains the mind with doubt and hesitation. Fear says you cannot. Fear says you are unworthy. Fear says the path is too uncertain, the risk too great, the dream too high. Yet faith, when embraced fully, dissolves fear as light dissolves darkness. Fear cannot dwell where faith is firmly established, for the two cannot occupy the same place at once. Faith is not mere hope nor a fragile wish. Faith is the unwavering knowing that what you desire is already yours in the unseen, waiting to be claimed in the seen. The man or woman trapped in the 9 to 5 often remains there not because of inability, but because of fear. Fear of losing security, fear of judgment, fear of stepping into the unknown. They may dream of freedom, yet they bow before the imagined dangers, and in so doing, they keep themselves bound. But when faith is chosen, fear loses its power. Faith declares that the supply is already prepared, that guidance is already given, that opportunities are already aligned. Faith holds its gaze on the unseen truth, while the outer world trembles with appearances. Circumstances are the favorite weapon of fear. They shout loudly, "Look at your bills, look at your obligations, look at the scarcity around you. Look at how many others have failed." If you bow to circumstances, you will forever be ruled by them. But circumstances are shadows, reflections of past belief, not permanent realities. To align with circumstances is to chain yourself to yesterday. To align with certainty is to step into the law of creation, which is always fresh, always unfolding, always greater than appearances. Faith is certainty. It is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. When you walk in faith, you act as though the truth of freedom were already established. You speak as though abundance were already flowing. You carry yourself as one who knows their path is prepared, even if the way is not yet visible. This certainty is not arrogance. It is alignment with the divine law that cannot fail. The universe responds to the vibration of certainty. Doors swing open before the one who walks with faith, while they remain locked to the one who hesitates in fear. It is not necessary to fight fear directly. Struggle only strengthens it, for what you resist persists. The task is not to banish fear by force, but to replace it with faith. The mind cannot hold both at once, so you choose deliberately which master you will serve. When fear arises, you do not argue with it, you turn your attention to faith. You declare to yourself, "I walk in certainty. I am guided. I am supplied. My good is secure." The more you feed faith with words, with images, with action, the weaker fear becomes until it fades like mist in the morning sun. Fear thrives on imagination misused. It paints vivid pictures of failure, loss, and struggle. It makes what is not real appear real, and in doing so, it drains courage and paralyzes action. Faith also uses imagination, but rightly directed. Faith paints pictures of victory, abundance, and joy. Faith makes what is unseen more real than what is seen, and in doing so, it fuels courage and inspires movement. Both are acts of imagination, but one imprisons while the other liberates. The choice rests always in your hands. When you begin the journey to leave the 9 to 5 in 9 months, fear will rise at every step. It will tell you the timing is wrong, the risk is too high, the vision too bold. It will remind you of past failures, of promises broken, of disappointments endured. It will try to persuade you to settle, to remain safe, to silence your dream. This is the testing ground. For every vision must pass through the fire of fear before it is birthed. If you yield, the vision dies. If you stand in faith, the vision grows stronger. Faith is built through practice. It is not a one-time declaration but a continual choice. Each day you choose again whether to align with fear or with certainty. You strengthen faith by feeding it. You read words that inspire. You speak affirmations that uplift. You surround yourself with those who believe in possibility rather than limitation. You take small steps in alignment with your vision, and each step proves to you that you are supported. With each demonstration, faith grows until it becomes unshakable. Faith is not blind, it sees beyond. Fear looks at what is and trembles. Faith looks at what will be and rejoices. Fear magnifies obstacles. Faith magnifies solutions. Fear paralyzes. Faith energizes. Fear closes doors in the mind. Faith opens them wide. When you choose faith, you begin to act differently. You approach opportunities with confidence. You speak with conviction. You carry yourself with authority. Others sense this vibration and respond to it. Doors open not because the world suddenly changes, but because your alignment has shifted, and the world must mirror your inner state. There is a secret power in declaring certainty when circumstances contradict it. When you affirm abundance in the face of lack, you are not deceiving yourself, you are aligning with truth beyond appearances. When you affirm freedom while still at the desk of your 9 to 5, you are not delusional. You are commanding the unseen to reveal what already belongs to you. Faith is creative. It calls into form that which fear would bury. Every affirmation of faith weakens the grip of fear and strengthens the chain of cause that leads to manifestation. The body responds to fear with tension, heaviness, exhaustion. It responds to faith with energy, clarity, vitality. Fear drains, faith restores. Fear makes the journey seem long and painful. Faith makes the same journey light and joyous. When you feel heaviness pressing upon you, know it is fear seeking to rule. When you feel a quiet confidence even in uncertainty, know faith is at work. To cultivate this confidence is to cultivate the very atmosphere in which freedom grows. Fear cannot withstand movement. The moment you act in alignment with faith, fear diminishes. Action proves to the mind that faith is real. A single step taken in trust is more powerful than hours of worry. Each step forward confirms the truth of your certainty, and with each confirmation, faith grows stronger still. The journey of 9 months is not a journey of waiting, but of walking steadily, guided by faith at every turn. There is a vast difference between toil born of fear and action born of inspiration. The world teaches that progress comes only by struggle, that one must grind endlessly, push harder, work longer, sacrifice joy to gain success. This belief has enslaved many in the endless wheel of labor, where effort multiplies yet fulfillment remains absent. But the law of life does not demand strain, it calls for alignment. Inspired action is not the frantic effort of one trying to make something happen, but the steady movement of one who knows the way is already prepared. It is not forced, it is guided. It does not deplete, it replenishes. It is not burden, it is flow. When you choose to leave the 9 to 5, you are not choosing a life of idleness. You are choosing a life where your work springs from truth, where what you do each day flows from purpose rather than obligation. To reach that life requires action, but not just any action. Action in harmony with vision. The difference is profound. Forced action is born of fear, fear of missing out, fear of lack, fear of falling behind. Inspired action is born of faith, faith that each step is revealed at the right time. Faith that you are guided by intelligence greater than your own. Faith that nothing is withheld from the one who listens and moves accordingly. The world admires hustle, yet hustle without alignment is motion without direction. You may exhaust yourself running in circles, only to find you remain in the same place. Inspired action, though it may appear smaller, carries power because it is precise. It strikes at the right moment, in the right way, producing results far beyond the effort given. One inspired step can open more doors than 100 forced ones. It is not the volume of action that matters, but its alignment with the higher law. Inspired action is recognized by the feeling that accompanies it. There is a quiet certainty, a sense of clarity, a lightness even when the step is bold. It may stretch you, but it does not crush you. It may challenge you, but it does not deplete you. It feels as though you are being carried rather than pushing against resistance. The idea comes, the impulse arises, the opportunity appears, and something within you says, "Yes, this is the way." This is the voice of guidance. To hear this voice, the mind must be still enough to receive. A restless mind, crowded with worry and constant activity, cannot perceive the subtle nudges of inspiration. Silence, reflection, meditation, and inner listening create the space where guidance speaks. The idea may come as a sudden thought, a gentle whisper, a door opening where none existed before. To the one who trusts, these are not coincidences. They are answers. To the one who doubts, they are dismissed, and the opportunity passes unseen. Once the inspired step is revealed, you must act. Too many receive the impulse yet hesitate, reasoning themselves out of movement. They question, they delay, they seek guarantees before they begin. In doing so, they quench the very spark that was meant to ignite their path. Inspiration demands response. When the step is shown, you move, even if the whole road is not yet visible. Each step reveals the next. Just as the traveler sees only as far as the lamp will shine, yet by walking, reaches the destination, so too does inspired action reveal the way. Forced action often leads to frustration because it attempts to manipulate outcomes through sheer effort. It says, "I must make this happen by my will alone." Inspired action trusts that the outcome is already established and simply aligns with it. This trust allows you to release the desperate grasping that creates resistance. Instead of scattering your energy in all directions, you focus it where it matters most. This focus creates efficiency, and efficiency brings results without exhaustion. The law of inspired action works with precision. Just as the key must fit the lock exactly, so does inspired action fit the opportunity perfectly. You may labor for years trying to break down a door by force, when one inspired step would have opened it with ease. But you cannot force the timing of inspiration, it comes when the soil is ready. This is why faith and patience are required. You prepare yourself by holding the vision, by trusting the unseen process, by replacing fear with certainty. Then, when the moment arrives, you are ready to act without hesitation. Many confuse inaction with faith, believing they must simply wait for everything to fall into place. Yet faith without action is incomplete. The seed must be planted, the field must be tilled, the door must be walked through when it opens. Faith prepares the ground, but action reaps the harvest. To sit idle while opportunities pass is to deny the law. To act frantically without guidance is to waste energy. To move when inspired is to cooperate with divine intelligence, creating harmony between inner knowing and outer doing. The 9-month journey is filled with such inspired steps. Some may seem small, a conversation, a book, a change in routine. Others may be large, leaving behind an old habit, accepting a new role, launching a bold idea. Each step builds upon the last, creating momentum that carries you forward. Though you may not see the full plan, trust that the plan exists, and that your part is simply to take the step before you. Inspired action also attracts support. When you move in alignment with vision, others sense it. The right people appear, drawn by the clarity of your energy. Doors open because your certainty creates resonance. Assistance arrives, not because you beg or chase, but because you move with confidence that the way is prepared. The universe supports movement in harmony with truth. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable because you acted when inspired. The feeling of force is heavy, anxious, strained. The feeling of inspiration is light, confident, effortless. One drains you, the other sustains you. Learn to recognize the difference. If you find yourself pushing endlessly with little fruit, step back and ask, am I moving from fear or from faith? Am I forcing, or am I being guided? This reflection allows you to release wasted effort and return to alignment. Inspiration never demands sacrifice of joy. It may require courage, but it does not require misery. It may call you to stretch, but it does not crush your spirit. True inspired action carries with it the fragrance of freedom, even while you are still on the journey. Each step feels like a taste of the life you are moving into, and in that feeling, you find strength to continue. The universe is rich beyond measure, overflowing with every form of abundance, yet it does not pour its treasures into vessels that are never lifted. Supply waits upon demand. The law is precise: nothing flows until it is called for, nothing appears until it is claimed. To believe you must wait endlessly for supply to find you is to misunderstand the very nature of life. Life responds, it answers, it gives when it is asked, and it multiplies when it is received with gratitude. Demand is not begging nor pleading, it is confident claiming. It is the soul saying with certainty, "This belongs to me by right of consciousness, and I accept it now." Most remain bound in the 9 to 5 because they do not dare to make a demand upon life. They whisper their desires. They hope silently, but they shrink back from declaring boldly what they want. They fear being disappointed, so they choose to want less. They fear being judged, so they choose to hide their dreams. In doing so, they signal to the universe that they are not ready to receive, and the law answers in kind. To demand is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is knowing that abundance is infinite, and that no request depletes the whole. To claim is to stand in your rightful inheritance as a co-creator with the divine. Supply is already prepared, yet it waits for the channel to open. Demand is that opening. The farmer who never plants seed cannot expect a harvest, not because the soil is barren but because the law requires a starting point. In the same way, your clear claim begins the flow of supply. When you declare, "I am free, I am provided for, I receive the channels prepared for me," you set into motion forces that cannot be stopped. Ideas begin to surface, opportunities emerge, resources align, and all because you created the demand that invited the supply to appear. To demand does not mean to dictate the manner of supply. Many block their own good by insisting it must come in a specific way, through a specific channel, at a specific time. This is not demand, this is control. True demand is releasing the how while holding fast to the what. You may declare freedom, abundance, opportunity, but you allow infinite intelligence to choose the path by which it comes. Often it arrives through channels you never expected, greater than what you imagined. To demand is to open wide, not to narrow. Fear often disguises itself as humility, whispering, "It is too much to ask, it is selfish to claim. It is safer to stay small." But humility does not mean denying your rightful good. True humility is trusting the law enough to receive without guilt. To accept abundance is not to rob another, for the supply is limitless. To refuse abundance is to reject what has already been prepared for you. And in doing so, to close the door on the greater good you might share with others. The one who boldly claims is the one who becomes a channel for blessings to flow outward as well. Supply follows demand with mathematical certainty. When you walk into a store, you make a request, and what you ask for is given. If you never speak, nothing is brought. Life operates by the same law. You must speak your request, declare your demand, and expect fulfillment. Hesitation delays the flow. Uncertainty clogs the channel. Clarity opens it wide. The clearer your demand, the swifter the supply. Demand is not only spoken with words but also with action. When you prepare for what you have claimed, you signal your readiness to receive. The one who prepares a room for the guest declares by action that the guest is coming. The one who sets aside time for freedom declares by action that freedom is at hand. Every act of preparation is a silent demand, and supply responds. When you act as though your vision is already unfolding, you hasten its arrival, for you align inner belief with outer movement. There is no shortage in the universe, only shortage in belief. Those who cry out that supply is limited, that opportunities are few, that abundance is for the few, are blinded by appearances. They see only the shadows of lack and mistake them for truth. Yet those who dare to demand discover that doors open where none existed, channels flow where once there was dryness, and resources appear that others swore were impossible. The law does not respect appearances, it respects consciousness. To the one who claims boldly, abundance responds. To the one who shrinks back, abundance waits in silence. Demand requires persistence. The first declaration may shake. The second may waver, but each repetition strengthens your claim. You do not give up when appearances contradict your demand, for appearances are slow to catch up with inner truth. You declare again, my supply is certain, my freedom is sure, my abundance flows. Each repetition builds momentum, each word anchors the reality deeper, until the outer must conform. Persistence in demand is not nagging the universe, it is solidifying your own certainty until doubt dissolves and only truth remains. Supply is not given because you earn it by toil or sacrifice, it is given because you align with it. Many labor long years under the false belief that their worth must be proven before life will grant them freedom. Yet worth is not earned, it is inherent. Supply follows not the hardest worker but the clearest demander. This is why some who labor endlessly remain in lack, while others who move with clarity receive in abundance. It is not effort alone that draws supply, but alignment with the law of demand. Demand must be without hesitation. The hesitant mind sends a double signal. It says, I want this, but whispers, perhaps not. Perhaps it is too much, perhaps I am unworthy. The law answers the stronger vibration, which is doubt, and so nothing flows. To claim effectively is to claim without apology. It is to stand firm in the truth that abundance is your natural state, that freedom is your rightful inheritance, and that nothing can prevent what is truly yours. When you declare in this manner, the law responds swiftly, for it meets the energy of conviction with fulfillment. Supply follows demand in exact proportion. If you demand little, little comes. If you demand greatly, greatly comes. The size of your claim determines the size of your supply. Do not limit yourself by small asking. Do not reduce your vision to fit within the comfort of fear. Dare to ask largely, for the universe is limitless. Your demand expands the channel, and the channel determines the flow. The ocean does not limit itself to the size of the vessel, it fills according to what is offered. Bring a thimble. Receive a thimble. Bring a bucket, receive a bucket. Bring a reservoir, and it will overflow.